Chapter 2145. All the strong cultivators. Wuxia was the first emperor of the Pellet King's clan. The only person who could dare say he could compete with this person both in terms of alchemy and cultivation had to be him. Someone who knew alchemy and cultivation, and who was strong enough. Red Cloud's first master, Jiuling Huang. He was the only one who would dare talk to him that way. Red Cloud's first master, Jiuling Huang. Is he Red Cloud's first master? It's the first time I've seen one of the continent of the 9 Clouds' first masters. His chi is extraordinary. First masters are very famous, more famous than the best emperor of the Pellet King's clan. Can Wuxia compete with him? Could he compete with Godly Cloud's first master? Wondered many people. Godly Cloud City was the central part of the continent of the 9 Clouds, and Godly Cloud City was the central part of Godly Clouds. There were many strong cultivators here. The Pellet King's clan was a level 2 group in Godly Cloud City. Few clans could compete with them. But in Red Clouds, King's descendants were cultivators of the first category. The Pellet King's clan wasn't weak. They just had different positions in the hierarchy. One was from Red Clouds, and the other one was from the powerful region of Godly Clouds. Therefore, the first master of Red Clouds dared talk to the first emperor of the Pellet King's clan that way. Jiuling Huang seemed to have a better reputation, however. Lin Feng glanced over Jiuling Huang. He had heard his name a short time before, as the first master of Red Clouds. He had 9 spirits, 9 flames, and each flame was explosive. He was incredibly strong in terms of both alchemy and cultivation. He had a similar temper to Prince Wu Qing. They were both cold and proud. However, they were also different, because Prince Wu Qing was emotionless. Nothing could have an impact on his mood. He cared about nothing. He didn't care about the 10,000 things of creation. Nothing made him happy or sad. However, Jiuling Huang was proud and cold, but he looked like a nobleman. It probably had something to do with his social status. Lin Feng didn't totally understand what Jiuling Huang's social status was. At that moment, Yao Yao's eyes were twinkling. She was staring at Jiuling Huang. She didn't say anything for a moment. But then, "Brother!" shouted Yao Yao suddenly. Lin Feng was astonished. Brother? His heart started pounding. He understood something then and smiled. Yao Yao was extremely talented. She was a king's descendant in Red Clouds. She was also Jiuling Huang's sister, the first master's sister. It all seemed logical all of a sudden, nothing surprising about it. Lin Feng didn't know much about Red Clouds. The people from Red Clouds around him looked totally unsurprised. They knew this was going to happen. Little girl, I told you to wait for me to leave, and in the end, Ru Feng and Ru Yun harassed you to take you out, right? Jiuling Huang said to Yao Yao. However, he looked at her gently. Yao Yao made a face, and then Ru Feng and Ru Yun both shouted, "Fellow disciple." "That's how you call me, fellow disciple," said Jiuling Huang indifferently. They smiled wryly and said, "Please forgive us, brother." "Bro, I asked them to take me with the dash," began Yao Yao. "I knew it was you," said Jiuling Huang, interrupting her. He looked at Ru Feng and Ru Yun again and said, "Good that nothing happened this time. However, this can't happen again. Otherwise, what will you do if you bump into shameless people like this again?" Wuxia frowned. Shameless? This newcomer was clearly talking about him. But he couldn't say anything. After all, he was the first young man of the Pellet King's clan, and he had challenged a little girl. It certainly wasn't fair. "Yes, fellow disciple, we understand," agreed Ru Feng and Ru Yun. They knew he didn't mean to blame them. He knew how to behave. They had brought Yao Yao from so far away to Godly Cloud City. It was indeed a bit dangerous and unreasonable. But Yao Yao didn't know when Jiuling Huang would come out back then, and she couldn't wait to start traveling. Their teacher often had headaches because of her. Jiuling Huang didn't say much. He looked around at the crowd. Challenging a little girl proves that people from the Pellet King's clan are not that strong. Now I'm here. If you want to compete in terms of alchemy or cultivation, as you wish. If you're too weak, you can call some people from your clan and have them come," said Jiuling Huang coldly. If he hadn't been there, they would have bullied his little sister and possibly stolen her fire. For an alchemical expert, fire was precious. It was part of their life. If someone took it from them, they didn't just lose their fire. It had a huge impact on their cultivation. they became weaker, and it took them years to recover. Wangshu glittered with cold lights. Jiuling Huang was the first master of red clouds. He had already heard about him. He had always wanted to compete with him, but now he was facing him, and he didn't know what to say or do. He didn't want to take risks, especially just before the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Even though he had always wanted to compete with Jiuling Huang, if he did and lost, it could have an impact on his participation in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. More and more people gathered around them. One of them was wearing a black cloak, his body pitch black, and his eyes were filled with demon lights. He had his hands on his back. He stood there in the sky and looked at Wangshu calmly. It's going to be a great battle. The first emperor of the Pellet King's clan against the first master of red clouds, both kings' descendants. I can't wait. Lei Dongtian Devamara Thunder Clan. He's also the first emperor of the Devamara Thunder Clan. The Devamara Thunder Clan and the Pellet King's clan are both powerful and influential clans in Godly Cloud City. They don't have cordial relations, however. Interesting, mentioned some people. Someone said, last time, Wang Sheng humiliated the members of the Devamara Thunder Clan. Now Lei Dongtian is here. He probably hopes Wang Sheng and Jiuling Huang will fight. Wang Shi looked over at Lei Dongtian, his eyes glittering with cold lights. That guy hoped he'd lose against Jiuling Huang. Lei Dongtian, don't worry, as you can't talk to me about alchemy. Regarding strength, you'll have the opportunity to fight against me during the meeting, I suppose, said Wang Shi coldly. Is that so? So you won't fight against me today? Lei Dongtian said to Wang Shi. Wang Shi grunted coldly. He looked around and was astonished. There were suddenly so many famous strong cultivators from the eastern town around. Everybody looks enthusiastic. You're all here, said Wang Shi, smiling indifferently. One of them smiled and said, we all wanted to see the Pellet King's clan compete with the geniuses of Red Clouds. We learned that the Pellet King's clan had lost. And now you're here. It's time for you to dazzle Wang Shi. Everyone seemed amused. All those people wanted Wang Shi and Jiuling Huang to fight. Many people had seen the alchemical competition. Initially Wang Sheng was the protagonist, but now they wanted to watch Wang Shi fight. The news was spreading quickly, and more people gathered there, hoping the atmosphere would be more lively. 2 alchemist kings' descendants from Godly Clouds and Red Clouds. That was going to be a great duel very quickly. Wang Shi looked at someone else coldly. That person just looked back at him unimpressed. Who are you, Your Excellency? Asked Wang Shi grimly. That's Prince Wuqing, he's here too, surprisingly. Many people were startled when they recognized Prince Wuqing. They had seen him in the Yi clan. Dark Cloud's first master, Prince Wuqing. Wang Shi's eyes glittered as he asked, are all the first masters here today? My fellow disciple is still meditating in seclusion. He didn't have time to come. I, Xian Run, came alone because I had nothing to do and I heard about the battle of the king's descendants. Someone else spoke up at that moment. The crowd looked over at that person. He looked well educated, like a scholar, calm and composed. A wanderer. Wang Shi stared at him. A wanderer from Holy Mountain. Today is lively. Surprisingly, there are so many incredible people. And there are 2 first masters of the continent of the 9 clouds. The crowd was shaking. Xian Run was a Confucian monk from Holy Mountain. His fellow disciple was the first master of Godly Clouds. He was also one of the strongest emperors of Godly Clouds. Even Lei Dongtian and Wang Shi knew his name. So many strong cultivators had shown up. Everyone was surprised. Of course, people were also excited. The meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds was approaching. So there were many strong cultivators here. They were all geniuses. Was a small-scale meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds going to happen here? Chapter 2146. Another bet, Wang Shi. Since everybody is so excited, you should do something. Show us how strong you are. Who's better between the alchemists of Godly Clouds and the alchemists of Red Clouds, who are also king's descendants? Said Lei Dongtian insistently. He really wanted these 2 to duel. Now that so many strong cultivators were there, he couldn't flinch. It wasn't between 2 groups of people anymore. It was about 2 kings' descendants from Godly Clouds and Red Clouds. It was about alchemy and cultivation. The geniuses of the top of the Huangqi layer had gathered there. Something had to happen. Jiuling Huang looked as calm and composed as before, as if nothing had been happening. He was the first master of red clouds. How could he fear Wang Shi? He didn't fear fighting against people stronger than him anyway. I also want to see alchemical techniques. I'd love to see you have an alchemical battle, said Xianren, smiling as if it was certain that these two were going to have an alchemical battle. Those guys are funny. Wang Shi and Jiuling Huang have to fight, murmured the gossips when they heard that. Wang Shi looked at Jiuling Huang, his eyes kept glittering. He hated this kind of feeling. He liked to decide for himself whether he wanted to fight or not. He didn't like it when people forced him to do anything. He hated it more than anything. Since he didn't like it, nobody could force him to do anything. Therefore, he looked at Jiuling Huang and said, "You're the first master of red clouds. You have 9 spirits and 9 flames. I really want to fight against you, but I don't like it when people force me to do something. We'll fight during the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Are you all right with that?" When the crowd heard Wang Shi, they were surprised. That guy surprisingly decided to flinch. Wang Shi wasn't worried that people would make fun of him. Lei Dongtian and Xianren all hoped he would duel. That's why they so insistent. But Wang Shi didn't bow to their pressure. People wondered why. You wanted to fight against my sister and now you're here and telling me you don't like it when people force you to do something. Do you mean you only like fighting against weaker people? Said Jiuling Huang, unwilling to give up. Before he arrived, Wang Shi wanted to fight against Yao Yao and bet on their respective fires. He had tried to force her, as if Yao Yao couldn't refuse. Jiuling Huang wouldn't give up. Wang Shi had nothing to say. You have a sister and I have a brother. They are also king's descendants, said Wang Shi. People remembered someone else, a monstrous cultivator, Wang Jia. However, everybody knew that Wang Jia didn't like making pellets. He was a fighting monster. He was crazy. Wang Jia and Wang Shi had completely different personalities. Therefore, Wang Shi was talking about his brother, which made many people doubt his intentions. If Wang Jia and Yao Yao had an alchemical battle, Wang Jia couldn't win. He hated making pellets. And then, asked Jiuling Huang. My brother isn't good in alchemy, however, he likes to fight, said Wang Shi slowly. Everybody knew that. He didn't lie about it. If Wang Jia and Yao Yao fought properly, Yao Yao wouldn't stand a chance. And even if he won, so what? It would be no surprise, and thus nothing glorious. Jiuling Huang didn't say anything. He just waited for Wang Shi to continue. My brother is really bad in alchemy, but he's an amazing fighter. He can't fight against your sister. Therefore, it would be stupid to compare them. However, since we're in such a situation today, and I don't want to fight, I can ask my brother to get involved. He's 4 years younger than me. He must be younger than some of your people from Red Clouds. Therefore, your people who are king's descendants can fight against him. Of course, you're the first master of Red Clouds, you can't fight him. You aren't the only people from Red Clouds who are king's descendants. There must be some others. As long as they are emperors, they can fight against my brother. If my brother loses, I am willing to make a bet with my fire at stake. Flames appeared in Wang Shi's hand, pure white as they danced there. It wasn't scorching hot, but it was extraordinary. How brave! Wang Shi is surprisingly willing to give up his fire. However, the crazy cultivator of the Pellet King's clan can't lose unless the first master of Red Clouds, Jiuling Huang, fights him personally. Nobody dares offend him. People who knew Wang Jia knew this wasn't a fair proposition. Everybody understood that such a battle would be beneficial for Wang Shi. He didn't want to fight against Jiuling Huang, because he knew he couldn't win. Jiuling Huang had never heard about Wang Shi's younger brother, and he didn't know how strong he was. However, he knew that if Wang Shi was willing to bet on his fire, it meant that his younger brother's fighting abilities were terrifying. Wang Shi knew they'd definitely win, so he dared bet on his fire. A powerful fire was priceless for alchemists. They all practiced fire cultivation. Without fire, they couldn't concoct remedies, just like weapon makers couldn't do anything without deployment spells. Extremely valuable remedies could be made in certain conditions only, requiring a terrifying temperature and an incredible cauldron. What if your brother wins? asked Yao Yao. Wang Shi smiled and said, "Since I refused to fight, I can't ask for anything. My only requirement is that the one who killed a member of my clan should die." When Wang Shi said that, everybody looked at Lin Feng, who was next to Yao Yao. He had killed Wang Zhan. However, Wang Shi had said he had no requirement before that, which meant that in his eyes, Lin Feng's life wasn't a requirement, it was comparable to his fire. For him, Lin Feng's life was actually even less precious than his fire, because he had said he wanted nothing. Jiuling Huang looked at Lin Feng. Yao Yao looked at him and said, "Bro? He's not from our clan," said Emperor Yu calmly. "And since I can't capture him, we can bet. Therefore, if you don't get involved, that's fine. I will take care of the rest." Wang Shi smiled. "Interesting," said Prince Wuqing. The crowd looked over at him. He looked cold and detached. He looked a little bit amused too. Lin Feng was from Dark Clouds. He was famous there, no less famous than himself. However, they were somewhere else now, and someone wanted to bet his fire for his life. It was interesting. "Indeed interesting," said Mou, smiling coldly. He looked angry actually. "We're in Godly Cloud City. You can attack him as you wish, we can't stop you, so why such a request?" said Jiuling Huang looking at Wang Shi. "I just hope he can win to stay alive, simple right?" said Wang Shi smiling. "Bastard, brother, you can't accept," Yao Yao said, looking at Jiuling Huang. Lin Feng remained silent. He had killed Wang Sheng. It obviously wasn't enough. Couldn't he have a rest before the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds? "Accept," he said to Jiuling Huang. Jiuling Huang looked amused and said to Lin Feng, "Are you sure? I'm not sure we can win. Actually, we're probably going to lose. I won't let you decide of anything when it comes to my life. I will fight myself," said Lin Feng calmly. Jiuling Huang was surprised. He remained silent for a few seconds and then nodded and smiled. "Since you don't mind, I won't refuse. Yao Yao won a pellet for me. If I win, that fire will be for Yao Yao," said Lin Feng. Jiuling Huang looked even more amused and nodded. "All right, if you win, give the fire to Yao Yao." Wang Shi smiled. Could Lin Feng even win? Wang Shi knew that his brother Wang Jie was astonishingly strong. He was famous in Godly Cloud City. In their clan, in terms of strength and alchemy, Wang Shi was first, but in terms of talent, Wang Jie was first. Actually, they were both first. "Who do you want me to kill?" someone asked loudly in the distance. It was another young man. However, he wasn't as calm as Wang Shi. He looked aggressive and wild. As Wang Jie arrived, he stopped in the air and released a scorching hot qi. He glanced over at the crowd. Lin Feng stepped forwards. However, he didn't hurry to attack. He also looked at the crowd and smiled. "If I kill him, what will happen?" When Lin Feng said that, everybody looked astonished. What would happen if Lin Feng killed Wang Jie? Chapter 2147. Who's insane? Wang Jie was Wang Shi's biological brother. They were both direct descendants of the Pellet King's clan's king. They were both incredibly talented. Even though he didn't like to make pellets, he was an incredible genius. If he died, what would the Pellet King's clan do? The problem was that Wang Jie was allowed to kill Lin Feng. But what would happen if Lin Feng killed him? Lin Feng wasn't from Godly Cloud City. The Pellet King's clan was from Godly Cloud City. Foreigners couldn't do what they wished here. Even if Jiuling Huang and the others wanted to protect him, they wouldn't be able to. This battle wasn't that fair. Of course, Lin Feng was quite brave to say that. "Ridiculous," said Wang Shi, bursting into laughter when he heard Lin Feng. "If you can kill Wang Jie, the Pellet King's clan will definitely not chase you." "Can I trust you though?" asked Lin Feng indifferently, smiling icily. "If I kill Wang Jie, you will send more elders to kill me. They'll tell me what? I kill young people from the Pellet King's clan so they can kill me and I have to die. I learn from my mistakes." "You're joking." "What do you want then?" asked Wang Shi coldly with murder in his eyes. "First, make all the great emperors next to you leave. I don't want great emperors to shamelessly attack me by surprise during a battle," said Lin Feng calmly. Wang Shi looked at him coldly and waved his hand. He said, "All great emperors go back." "Umph." The great emperors of his clan grunted coldly and left. "Is it good now?" asked Wang Shi. playing with the fire he in his hand. Does anyone from Godly Cloud City accept acting as a referee during the battle? Asked Lin Feng, glancing around calmly. He hoped nobody would attack him by surprise before the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Let me ask you again, are you sure that what you just said represents your entire clan's, the Pellet King's clan's opinion? Repeated Lei Dongtian coldly. He was staring at Wang Shi with his demon eyes. Of course, said Wang Shi, pulling a long face. He was getting angry. Why were these people wasting so much time for a simple battle? Excellent. Since Wang Shi said it, the Devamara Thunder clan is willing to act as a referee. If you kill Wang Jie, you can come to the Devamara Thunder clan. We'll protect you and you'll immediately be qualified for the next round in the 4 main clans without going through any sort of test, said Lei Dongtian solemnly. When you go to one of the 4 clans, it means that you can participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Then, even if the Pellet King's clan is shameless, they won't dare attack you, because it's against the rules. People knew the rules of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Those who had been chosen couldn't be attacked anymore. It was so the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds remained fair. Nobody could influence the meeting. Otherwise, powerful clans from Godly Cloud City could send terrifyingly strong cultivators to kill powerful foreign fighters and prevent them from participating. That way, clans from Godly Cloud City would have more chances to rank higher. Nobody dared violate the rules in Godly Cloud City because the shrines had law enforcement officers. Some people had tried to violate the rules to help some of their kin. They had disappeared on the same day. Nobody dared violate the rules again. Since it's that way, leave some space for the battle, thank you. People from the Pellet King's clan must stay away. They can't get involved, Lin Feng said calmly. Wang Shi looked at him coldly and said, How insolent. What kind of people do you think we are? You know perfectly well what kind of people you are. I don't need to say anything about that, replied Lin Feng coldly. Interesting, said Wang Shi icily. He took a step forwards next to the members of the Pellet King's clan. He indeed interesting, said Xian Ren, looking as unruffled as before. He shifted and landed next to Prince Wu Qing. They both stood before Wang Shi and the others members of his clan to prevent them from getting involved, just in case. After that, many people moved away to give Lin Feng and Wang Jie some space to fight. They wanted to see how powerful Wang Jie was. Unfortunately, Wang Shi had refused to fight as well, or it would have been even more interesting. But he probably made his brother fight for his clan to regain face, first by winning, and second by killing Lin Feng, who had killed one of their people. Wang Shi didn't think the battle was fair. Lin Feng's life was far less important than his fire, in his opinion. He just wanted to regain face, but Lin Feng was still amusing him. Therefore, he was happy to watch the battle. Only Lin Feng and Wang Jie were left in the middle. Wang Jie released his qi furiously. He looked wild and crazy as his qi exploded. You're really talkative, said Wang Jie. He didn't look that mature. So when he looked angry it was funny, but his qi was still impressive as it made the ground shake. He looked like he was going berserk as his qi kept increasing in intensity. People's hearts started pounding when they looked at him. How strong, he's insanely strong. Nobody dares challenge him, I've heard, whispered someone. At that moment, Wang Jie was surrounded by terrifying flames. He looked like a fire god. Roar! He shouted furiously, fireballs shooting towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng sensed all the flames moving towards him. He condensed a terrifying sword intent in his fingers. Bright lights shone and turned into light beams, crashing into the fireballs. At the same time, Wang Jie advanced, rumbles starting as their auras clashed. He was surrounded by fire. The air around him was burning. It was like a fire god had been throwing himself at Lin Feng, and his energies could destroy everything in his way. Lin Feng continued condensing sword intent into his fingers. At the same time, he condensed fire cosmic energies in his fist. Lin Feng's fire became explosive. It contained thunders and demon lights. It gathered into a weird ball, which contained all sorts of oppressive qi. What a guy. He wants to collide with Wang Jie, and he knows several sorts of cosmic energies. People murmured when they saw Lin Feng's move. A gigantic fire giant moved towards Lin Feng. roaring as it burned. Wang Jie's fist hadn't even reached Lin Feng yet, but it seemed it could already absorb him. Die! Wang Jie shouted furiously, his strength erupting. The air kept exploding around him. Lin Feng also started moving forwards. With his black thunder fire sword fist coupled with his physical strength, Lin Feng was convinced that he could definitely collide frontally with Wang Jie. When the two fighters met, a terrifying mushroom-shaped flame dashed to the skies. At the same time, a light beam shot up to the sky. The temperature instantly increased drastically, and the watchers suddenly started sweating. They used their strength to block the heat. Wang Jie was smashed away. Lin Feng continued chasing him. What? His strength is even more terrifying than Wang Jie's? How is that possible? The members of the Pellet King's clan were all astonished, their faces freezing in ugly expressions. Their crazy little cultivator, with a terrifying physical strength, was being oppressed. Wang Shi looked very unsightly. He couldn't believe it his eyes. Lin Feng was surrounded by 9 dazzling dragon lights that were vibrating intensely. He moved like the wind and released sword intent at the same time. He looked like a furious death god. He looked even more crazy than their crazy little boy. Die, said Lin Feng. He landed before Wang Jie, and a terrifying ancient desolate strength came down on Wang Jie, who roared defiantly. He raised his fist, heavy with fire strength, but crackling sounds sounded, as if his bones had been crushed. Wang Jie shouted furiously, his chi rising to the skies. Many people in the crowd realized he was burning, and looked more and more like a fire giant. He was releasing Dao power. Some burns also appeared on Lin Feng's body. What a strange Dao power. That Dao has been created using fire. The earth and the sky shook around Lin Feng. However, no matter what his opponent's Dao power was, Lin Feng wanted to oppress him. Rumbling sounds spread in the air. Wang Jie used Dao power on his own body to turn into an all-conquering, firmly solid fire giant. Lin Feng continued punching him without stopping. The impacts kept making the earth and the sky tremble. Wang Jie's fire-earth body kept breaking. Finally his arms hung loose, and he felt powerless. The atmosphere became even heavier. People were staring blankly at the scene. What kind of explosive strength was that? Who was actually the crazy one there? Ah! Finally, Wang Jie roared out furiously a final time. The members of the Pellet King's clan were trembling. No! Wang Jie's face turned deathly pale. Lin Feng hammered Wang Jie and threw him to the ground, then drove down into him and punched him violently again, not giving him time to stand up. More and more wounds and blood appeared on Wang Jie. He seemed to be waiting for death. Stop! Shouted Wang Shi explosively. His face was deathly pale. He hadn't thought such a thing would happen. He had thought he wouldn't need to get involved. He had thought his brother would win easily. I've told you. You know perfectly well what kind of people you are. You will show everyone what kind of people you are, said Lin Feng grimly after turning around, staring at Wang Shi. Then he turned back and punched Wang Jie again. Huge wounds appeared on Wang Jie's body, and blood gushed out. Chapter 2148. Absorbing Insolent, shouted Wang Jie when he saw the result. His face was ghastly. He was desperate and crushed. His muscles twitched with his anger. He was about to burst out. Wang Shi would have never thought such a thing was possible. His brother, the little crazy cultivator of his clan, was being pummeled to death by Lin Feng. Wang Shi had refused to fight. He had bet on his own fire, because he had thought nobody could defeat his little brother. He hadn't thought a defeat was possible. He initially thought his brother was going to humiliate all these people, and that they'd regain face. However, the result was different. His brother was being crushed. Wang Jie hadn't thought such a thing could happen to him. Nobody had. Wang Jie had thought nobody could compete with him in terms of physical strength here. He had even thought Lin Feng would be much weaker than him. I'm insolent. You looked proud and arrogant a moment ago. When you considered everybody and everything beneath notice, you changed quickly, said Lin Feng heartlessly. He punched Wang Jie again. Wang Jie's heart was pounding violently. Let him go and you won't die, said Wang Shi coldly. However, Lin Feng just smiled mockingly and said calmly, That's why I didn't kill immediately. I wanted to wait and see how your faces would change. You see the difference between now and a few minutes ago? You're a shameless moron. Wang Shi released an explosive flame. However, Prince Wuqing took a step forwards and prevented him from passing. He released 3,000 threads of emotionlessness strength, which turned into a deadly technique. Each thread of emotionlessness strength could kill someone. Wang Shi abruptly stopped and stared at Prince Wuqing. He was helpless. You don't care about your promises, we all know that. But you can't ignore us witnesses, said Prince Wuqing coldly. He's right, we saw something wrong, said Lei Dongtian, his arms crossed before his chest. He was staring at the members of the Pellet King's clan and smiled coldly. I'm also a witness, a referee. If Lin Feng wins, he can kill Wang Jia. Wang Jia's face was distorted with hatred, and his eyes went dark. When he saw how calm and serene Lin Feng looked, he was even more furious. He understood how Lin Feng had killed the great emperors he had sent now. He had even been getting ready to kill Wang Jia. In Wang Shi's opinion, Lin Feng had planned all this, including Wang Jia's death. Remember, you buried your little brother, you killed him. But you should have died, Wang Shi, said Lin Feng coldly. His voice resonated in Wang Jia's brain like a demon's voice. Wang Shi had killed his little brother. It made the two brothers' hearts pound violently. When Wang Shi had proposed this battle, Lin Feng had already planned he'd kill him. So Wang Shi had indirectly killed his brother by refusing to fight. Wang Shi looked at the 9 dragons roaring furiously, his face deathly pale. No! His eyes were bloodshot. A dragon behind Lin Feng opened his mouth, and suddenly ate Wang Jia alive. Wang Shi's face was ghastly, his heart pounding in his ears. The most talented emperor of the Pellet King's clan, because of a little bet, had been killed. In other words, he had been killed because of Wang Shi's pride and arrogance. He could only regret now. Wang Shi was desperate, but it was too late and Wang Jia had disappeared before his eyes. You will die, shouted Wang Shi shrilly. However, Prince Wuqing smiled coldly and looked at Wang Shi. You're pathetic and ridiculous. Wang Shi slowly turned around and stared at Prince Wuqing. He was rippling with fury. At the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, there will be many geniuses from everywhere in the continent of the 9 clouds. Apart from the first master of godly clouds, how many geniuses have you ever heard of? How can you act so arrogantly? You don't even know who your opponents should be. You dare act so arrogantly. Do you think you will become the first master of godly clouds? Prince Wuqing mocked him. Then he turned around and looked at Lin Feng. He smiled coldly and said, Imagine if you were the first master of dark clouds. And if you were that arrogant when facing someone stronger than him? Said Wuqing coldly, his words piercing through Wang Shi's eardrums like sharp swords. The first emperor of the Pellet King's clan believed that Jiuling Huang was the only person who could fight against him. When Lin Feng had joined hands with Jiuling Huang and the other people from Red Clouds, he didn't matter initially, but did he really know how strong Lin Feng was at the beginning? Did he know what kind of relationship Lin Feng and Jiuling Huang had? He knew nothing at all. He had only relied on his opinions to make a decision. And the result was tragic. He had bet, putting his young brother's life at stake. He had neglected the enemy's strength. How stupid, how ignorant. However, it wasn't over. Jiuling Huang rose up into the air, faced him and said simply, Fire. He sounded calm and neutral, but that voice made Wang Shi tremble with fear and remorse. How stupid, how humiliating. However, he wasn't allowed to forget he had promised to give up his fire. What a tragedy. His brother was dead, the most talented young man of their clan. And now the enemy was stretching out his hand and waiting for the loot. How cruel. However, he had made a bet with Jiuling Huang. Jiuling Huang didn't need to take his mood into consideration. Jiuling Huang couldn't have compassion. He wasn't sad or furious like Wang Shi. Therefore, Jiuling Huang went to him without hesitation. He wanted the fire. Wang Shi felt as if he had been wounded, and someone had poured salt into the wound. Before Jiuling Huang had arrived, Wang Shi had challenged Yao Yao, so Jiuling Huang wasn't going to be merciful. Wang Shi's mouth twitched. His face was distorted with ferocity and hatred. The members of the Pellet King's clan landed next to him, all of them furious. But their enemies didn't care. To them, the members of the Pellet King's clan were just losers. If the members of the Pellet King's clan had won, they would have killed Lin Feng equally heartlessly. Since you bet, don't act like that. You're just making a fool of yourself now, said Xianren indifferently. Since Wang Shi had proposed the bet, he had to control himself. He should have anticipated the consequences. Wang Shi raised his hand and released his fire. He was even more furious now. He looked at Jiuling Huang with murder in his eyes. Jiuling Huang smiled icily and took the fire. His silhouette flickered, and he went over to Yao Yao. He gave it to her and said, "Since your friend wants to give you the fire, take it." Hee. Yao Yao nodded and looked at Lin Feng. "Thank you, brother Lin Feng." "Little girl, you helped me obtain a pellet," said Lin Feng smiling. His 9 dragons were still showing behind him, looking particularly ferocious. "We should go," said Lei Dongtian in the distance. Then, he jumped and landed next to Lin Feng. Lin Feng nodded. The battle had been very short, but there were still some extremely strong cultivators from the Pellet King's clan around. They had to leave as soon as possible, especially since the great emperors, who had left just before, could come back any time. Lin Feng had saved much in his spirit world. He had never believed in rules and promises. Strength was a rule. They had agreed on something. But if they killed Lin Feng, so what? If Lin Feng died, nothing else would be important for him. Therefore, Lin Feng always made decisions considering strength and power first. A strong wind started blowing. The 2 cultivators disappeared in claps of thunder and reappeared far away. Lei Dongtian had promised Lin Feng that if he won, he'd take him back to his clan and would qualify him to move on to the next step, which involved going to one of the 4 most powerful clans. "Chase him," said Wang Shi ferociously. He looked after Lin Feng with murder in his eyes. The crowd gazed into the distance. As Lin Feng had thought, they didn't care about their word. Chapter 2149. Devamara Thunder Clan. After Lin Feng left, the crowd was all astonished. Then, they took deep breaths and looked at Prince Wuqing. Prince Wuqing was the first master of the Dark Night region. Lin Feng didn't seem to be unknown there. He was probably considered a terrifying genius there. Only a few people knew about him in Godly Cloud City. Like Prince Wuqing had said, there were many geniuses in Godly Cloud City, and many of them were going to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. It was important to know one's enemies before acting arrogantly. When people thought about that, they took deep breaths. Staying discreet was still the best thing to do. What if they offended someone and ended up like Wang Jia? "Brother Lin Feng is extremely strong. He could probably compete with you," said Yao Yao, looking at Jiuling Huang and sighing. Even though she knew that Lin Feng was famous in the Dark Night region, she had not thought Lin Feng would be so strong. "He's really strong indeed. I don't know how strong he would be if he used his full strength," said Jiuling Huang, watching Lin Feng disappear in the distance. He sounded unruffled by the idea. Jiuling Huang turned around and gazed over. There were 2 people looking at him. Their chi filled the air. The first master of Red Clouds, Jiuling Huang. The first master of Dark Clouds, Prince Wuqing. They glanced at one another. They were probably going to fight on the battle stage of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. It would be an incredible battle. Interesting. Xianren smiled. His chi also rose. They were on the same side a moment before. But they knew that they might be enemies on the battle stage of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Almost everybody they met in Godly Cloud City these days could become their opponent on the battle stage of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, even if many of them weren't going to be qualified. The Pellet King's clan has been badly humiliated. He even killed Wang Shi's younger brother, Wang Jia. How deserving, thought many people, sighing or amused as they saw fit. Who would have thought that the alchemical battle between Wang Sheng and those people from Red Clouds would end up astonishing the whole eastern town? At that moment, Lei Dongtian and Lin Feng arrived in Demon Town. They called it Demon Town, but actually it was just the Devamara Thunder Clan. It was a dark city. All the buildings were black and spectacular. Devamara Thunder Clan. Lin Feng glanced around and saw black towers all around. Devamara Culpa's strength kept glittering everywhere. It was like Devamara Culpa's strength could descend from the sky anytime. "What's that?" asked Lin Feng. He frowned and looked at a castle with a fearsome chi. "That's a protected area where my clan keeps all our treasures," Saint's weapons, Devamara pearls and Devamara thunder kulpa. Its strength envelopes the whole clan. At the same time, if anyone from outside enters our clan, it'll activate the Devamara pearls and attack their soul," replied Lei Dongtian with a smile. At the moment, he had a gigantic pair of black wings in his back, which he recalled into his body. Lin Feng was curious about all that. Lei Dongtian's wings allowed him to move as fast as lightning. He was extremely fast. As a member of the Devamara Thunder clan, he probably knew some terrifying attacks. Saint's weapons? How powerful and influential. I wonder what kind of cultivator can make Saint's weapons. Such a person should be at least a great deployment master, thought Lin Feng. Saints had transcended worldliness. They didn't care about cosmic energies. They had their own terrifying destructive strength. But they could also have weapons. And those weapons had to be useful and have the same strength as they did. It was difficult to imagine for Lin Feng to picture, however. The Devamara Thunder clan has Saint's weapons and Devamara skills and techniques. They must be very powerful, observed Lin Feng. Lei Dongtian nodded and smiled. Of course. Lin Feng, come in. In the Devamara Thunder clan, there aren't as many strong cultivators as in ancient holy clans. But people who join the Devamara Thunder clan are all genuine heroes. Many people want to join us, but they can't. Why? Asked Lin Feng. The Devamara Thunder clan just doesn't choose them. Even though level 2 groups aren't like the 4 most influential and powerful groups. And we can't choose people for the meeting, we still have a special position in town. Only special people who have a certain reputation can join us. And then they don't even need to take the exam to go to the 4 groups for the meeting. Lei Dongtian smiled. So you mean that level 2 groups also have to be selected? Lin Feng inquired. It's different. We don't choose. Only people whom we acknowledge can come in, so we don't need to prepare an exam or anything like that. We can just take them to the 4 groups. If you want, we can bring you to the 4 groups. You'll receive a protection necklace and nobody will dare touch you in Godly Cloud City, because you'll already be a selected candidate for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, explained Lei Dongtian, which made Lin Feng smile. He understood. The level 2 groups were different from the other groups. They could send their own people, but they didn't need to send strangers to the 4 groups. If anyone managed to join a level 2 group, then they could directly go to the 4 groups without taking an exam. Of course, for geniuses, it's only a little help, because geniuses can also pass the exam easily in the smaller ancient holy clans. Lei Dongtian smiled knowingly. The two of them walked around the territory of the Devamara Thunder clan. It was a gigantic clan, and there was a demon strength all around. In the distance was a great dark fortress surrounded by Devamara Kulpa strength. If I use my Kulpa indestructible Devamara skill there, I wonder how powerful the Devamara Kulpa strength would be, thought Lin Feng. The Devamara Thunder clan was the creator of the Kulpa indestructible Devamara skill. They also had the full skill set, and many of their people had mastered it. They had received it from their ancestors. Would they kill him if they knew he had studied it? Lei Dongtian led the way so they could proceed without hindrance. Lei Dongtian was the first emperor of his generation, and had a high social status. Very quickly, they arrived in front of the vast dark fortress. "Brother Lei, you're back," someone called out happily for Lei Dongtian. "Indeed," replied Lei Dongtian cheerfully. The two of them kept walking. Many people looked at Lin Feng with their black eyes, which made Lin Feng shiver once. Most people in the Devamara Thunder clan were demon cultivators. They were all brutal, cold, and detached. Lei Dongtian, who's that? How come he came to the Devamara Thunder clan? He must be quite strong, exclaimed a tall and sturdy person, staring at Lin Feng with his gigantic demon eyes. He looked quite fearsome. What a powerful demon intent, thought Lin Feng. His eyes also became dark, and he looked at that man. Cursing demon lights turned into holy spirits, and penetrated into the other's eyes. The tall and sturdy man was surprised. Energies crackled with rumbles and crackling between them. Fissures appeared on the ground. The guy stared at Lin Feng and shouted loudly. "Interesting, Lei Dongtian, this guy is fun." More thunder shook the air as he threw himself at Lin Feng. Each of his steps made the ground shake violently, as if the world was about to collapse. A gigantic hand moved towards Lin Feng and threatened him. The terrifying demon power could crush Lin Feng and turn to dust. Lei Dongtian jumped aside and smiled patiently. What a guy! It wasn't going to be easy for him. He had seen Lin Feng's strength. It had crushed the little insane cultivator of the Pellet King's clan. Lin Feng condensed terrifying demon lights in his fist and punched out. Staccato breaking and snapping sounds spread out, and the gigantic man was propelled backwards. The thick and strong arms of the cultivator trembled. He had the sensation his bones had just been crushed. Chapter 2150. Friend. The big man was stupefied and stared at Lin Feng dumbly for a moment. He shouted, "Good boy. You're stronger than me. No wonder Lei Dongtian brought you to the clan." Then, he shook his arms. Demon lights glittered, and a crackling sound was heard as he began to recover. The air began to vibrate. Many people looked at Lin Feng. Lei Dongtian, who is he? He injured our friend. His physical strength is incredible. Is he from Godly Cloud City? He has a similar strength to you, it seems? As expected, the situation gets really funny when the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds approaches. Recently, a terrifying deployment spellcaster arrived. Now, a cultivator with monumental physical strength is here. And there's that girl too. She's strong and beautiful. But in the Devamara Thunder clan, we already have some terrifyingly strong people, said a young man with a fair and clean face. When the crowd heard him, they nodded along. Indeed, the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds hadn't started yet. But the atmosphere was lively in Godly Cloud City. Many strong cultivators had gathered here. Lei Dongtian, weren't the 2 boring alchemist clans supposed to have a competition today? Who won? You went to watch. But actually it's just a bunch of little people. Really strong cultivators haven't started fighting yet, asked someone else in the fortress. A dozen people had suddenly appeared all around them. They all looked incredible and had different types of strength. Lei Dongtian smiled patiently and said to the crowd, "If I told you what happened today, you'd regret not having come." "Oh, tell us." First, regarding the alchemical competition, the cultivators from the Pellet King's clan lost against the cultivators from Red Clouds. A little girl beat Wang Sheng. But it's not over. Wang Shi showed up. Oh, Wang Shi showed up? How shameless. He's the first young man of the Pellet King's clan. Did he want to bully the little girl? So he humiliated the cultivators from Red Clouds? I'm not done, Lei Dongtian smiled. The little girl's brother showed up. Guess who he is? Everybody was listening carefully. The suspense was unbearable, but Lei Dongtian was deliberately mystifying. Someone asked straightforwardly, "Who?" Jiuling Huang. Red Cloud's first master, Jiuling Huang. Many people frowned, but their eyes twinkled. One of them said slowly, "Red Cloud's first master, and the first young man of the Pellet King's clan fought, and I missed the battle. What a pity." No, Prince Wuqing and Xian Ren from Holy Mountain also showed up, continued Lei Dongtian laughing. Everybody was so sad to have missed this. Someone said, "Lei Dongtian, cut it with the suspense, tell us the whole story." Hehe. Lei Dongtian laughed. Wang Shi refused to fight against Jiuling Huang, or to have an alchemical competition. He made Wang Jie fight. The fighter could be anyone but Jiuling Huang. Finally, someone volunteered and killed Wang Jie. Killed Wang Jie. The people took a deep breath. They all knew who Wang Jie was. They wanted to know who had done such a thing. How audacious. Someone killed Wang Jie. He's extremely strong. Among those people from Red Clouds, who apart from Jiuling Huang, could have killed Wang Jie, the Pellet King's clan won't let him off for sure. Of course, so they chased us until a few minutes ago. Lei Dongtian smiled. The crowd was astonished and stared at Lin Feng standing next to Lei Dongtian. Interesting, he killed Wang Jie? Haha, no wonder your physical strength is so incredible. I even lost against you. But it was fun. However, you're brave, said the big man looking at Lin Feng. He now understood Lei Dongtian's story. People from abroad didn't know who Wang Jie was, but people in Godly Cloud City all knew him. Lin Feng was extremely strong. Those people wanted to see how strong Lin Feng was. Why are you all so happy? Asked someone at that moment. A silhouette appeared in the air. That person didn't move quickly. He even stopped in the air. Hey, you're here, Yang Xiao. Your deployment spells are incredible. But that guy's physical strength is incredible too. You should have a fight to compare, said the big man with a smile. When Lin Feng saw him, he was astonished and stared at him coldly. Lei Dongtian sensed a cold energy. Yang Zhao's smile was suddenly frozen on his face. He glanced at Lin Feng. It seemed these two people knew one another. Yang Xiao, said Lin Feng, smiling broadly. He had escaped from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, so he had arrived in Godly Cloud City through the eastern town. So it wasn't surprising that Yang Xiao had taken the same path. When Yang Xiao heard Lin Feng, he smiled indifferently too, but it wasn't a natural smile. Brother Mu Feng, I was worried for you last time in the Gone government's paradise. I thought you had died. I wouldn't have thought we'd meet again. I'm so happy. Yang Xiao smiled. Mu Feng, brother Lin Feng? Lei Dongtian looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled and said, when I was in Yang Zhao's Celestial Remarkable Deployment Government, I used that name. I see. I hadn't thought you'd know one another. Yes, he's a good friend. Back then, brother Yang Xiao chased me with a bunch of great emperors to murder me. They nearly managed to kill me. I was lucky, or I wouldn't be here, said Lin Feng with a smile. Yang Xiao pulled a long face. By the way, last time, you obtained a precious and mysterious treasure in the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. Brother Yang Xiao, you're extremely strong and talented. You can steal people's memories and make them yours. Then you can use those memories to learn a person's strength and use it for yourself. That's a terrifying technique. Brother Yang Xiao, back then, you wanted to fight against me and steal my memories. Lin Feng smiled. Yang Zhao's face turned deathly pale. Everybody was suddenly looking at Yang Xiao coldly. He suddenly looked scared. Stealing people's memories was a terrifying ability and very dangerous. And they suddenly recalled someone who had suddenly become really stupid. Yang Xiao, so you did it. Everybody stared at him coldly. Shortly before, someone had suddenly become stupid and couldn't remember anything now. Nobody had found the cause of the calamity. However, everybody understood now. Someone as dangerous as this was hiding in their palace. He could steal people's memories. He can use deployment spells to steal people's memories and strength to use them for his own benefits. He looks modest and amiable. He never argues with people. That's Yang Xiao, said Lin Feng airily. Everybody was glaring at Yang Xiao furiously. No wonder Yang Xiao was so kind and discreet. He only showed people how strong he was in terms of deployment spells. And he was easygoing and friendly. But now, when they thought about that, many people had cold sweats. Luckily, they were extremely strong. So Yang Xiao hadn't dared attack them easily. Otherwise, the consequences would have been too dreadful to contemplate. Brother Yang Xiao, you're extremely strong. With your particular ability, you must have stolen so many strong cultivators' memories. You must be hiding so much mysterious strength in your body. How scary. Lin Feng continued cheerfully. Yang Xiao pulled a long face. He was furious. But then he smiled at the crowd and said, I, Yang Xiao, admit I did it. But he is making impertinent remarks. I didn't attack him. And I am not strong enough to attack you guys. Besides, now that you already all know about that, I won't do it again. Let's be friends. How sly, thought Lin Feng. As expected, when the crowd heard Yang Xiao, they just looked at him coldly. Even though they had been friendly to him, they had just been friendly. That's all. He wasn't important to them. Their memories were precious. They couldn't afford to have someone around who could steal their memories around. People always made decisions for their own benefits. That was normal. I don't mind, said someone calmly. Since Yang Xiao said it, I can forgive him. However, if anything happens to any of us, we must join hands and kill him. Don't worry. I won't do it again, I swear, said Yang Xiao with stern righteousness to everyone, including Lei Dongtian. Lei Dongtian was the leader of the Eastern group. He was furious, after all. People's memories were priceless. But punishing Yang Xiao was useless now. When Lei Dongtian saw everybody's faces, he smiled coldly on the inside. But he didn't show his emotions. Since it's that way, let's forget about it. If it happens again, the members of the Devamara Thunder clan will join hands to kill you. Definitely, replied Yang Xiao with a smile. He was out of danger. However, at that moment an ice-cold energy filled the air. People gazed into the distance and saw a beautiful silhouette who looked as cold and sharp as the blade of a sword. When Lin Feng saw her, he frowned. It was her. Chapter 2151. Closely following that girl. People raised their heads and looked at her. She looked ice-cold from head to toe, and people didn't want to go near her. She looked like a noble princess, but her chi was also particularly terrifying. For truly strong cultivators, such a woman was even more desirable. Interesting girl, said Lin Feng, smiling casually. Lin Feng had seen her when he had turned into a cauldron. She was the beautiful woman he saw bathing. She was extremely cute. However, when people were around, she didn't look cute at all. She looked ice-cold. Lin Feng still remembered when she had fought against those people. She also had a beautiful necklace hanging between her breasts. As if she had sensed something, she looked at Lin Feng, sword determination emerging from her eyes. Lin Feng's smile was suddenly frozen. How cold. Wasn't he allowed to smile? When Lin Feng thought about that, he smiled even more and stared at her calmly. Humph, the girl spat coldly. Her sword determination surrounded Lin Feng. But then she turned to Yang Xiao and said coldly, so you're the one who did it. So you wanted to get close to me to steal my memories. In the future, don't come anywhere near me. Yang Xiao was furious at Lin Feng, who had told everyone his secret on purpose. Everybody was going to watch him now. He couldn't pull his usual tricks anymore. The girl smiled chillingly and left. Everybody's eyes twinkled as she disappeared. She's so fast. Lin Feng watched her disappear in the distance, impressed. Lei Dongtian looked relaxed and said to the crowd, from today on, if you two exchange views on cultivation, you can, but you can't kill your opponent. We're all in the Devamara Thunder clan now, and people must feel safe here. What happened last time can't happen again. Of course. Yang Xiao smiled. He felt exposed as he rose up into the air. Lin Feng watched Yang Xiao coldly. The other had chased him for so long. Now that they weren't in the celestial remarkable deployment government anymore, things were going to get interesting. Lin Feng, you can choose a place to stay. There's plenty of space here, said Lei Dongtian. Lin Feng nodded and said, I'll have a walk around and check. He rose up into the air and went to choose a place. Outside of the Devamara Thunder clan, a group of people had arrived. The leader of the group was Wang Shi, looking furious as he stared at the fortress like it was a lair of evildoers. Wang Shi could only grimace in hate. He had chased Lin Feng to here, but he couldn't go inside to kill him. In an instant, someone else appeared in front of Wang Shi. Wang Shi was startled and blurted out, Grandpa. What about little Jia? The man asked coldly. He was killed, replied Wang Shi, lowering his head. His face stiffened. Little Jia isn't dead, said Wang Shi's grandfather, taking out a soul talisman. Even though it had many cracks, it wasn't broken. Wang Shi frowned and said, what was going on? I saw his soul get absorbed by the enemy. He's alive, his soul hasn't been destroyed. Phew. Wang Shi took a deep breath. He had hope again. If Wang Jia wasn't dead, he could still rescue him. However, when Wang Shi looked at the Devamara Thunder clan again, his heart ached. He couldn't go in and find the enemy. The Devamara Thunder clan and the Pellet King's clan didn't have cordial relations. Lei Dongtian had taken their target back to the Devamara Thunder clan personally. The Devamara Thunder clan was going to ensure his safety. The Devamara Thunder clan was dignified and majestic, and they wouldn't abandon people like that, otherwise, people would stop trusting them. Grandfather, how can we save my brother then? Said Wang Shi. Let's negotiate and give them what they want, said Wang Shi's grandfather. The Pellet King's clan was ready to pay the price for the little crazy cultivator. Wang Shi's face stiffened. He knew how his grandfather felt. He was ready to do anything for Wang Jia. People like Wang Jia were precious to the Pellet King's clan. He knew that if the Devamara Thunder clan agreed to give him back, it would be very expensive. The Devamara Thunder clan was already wealthy, so to buy Wang Jia's freedom, they'd need to spend a lot. The group of Pill Kings walked towards the dark palaces and fortresses. Lin Feng didn't know the members of the Pellet King's clan were moving inside the Devamara Thunder clan's territory. He was in a palace in his spirit world, seated cross-legged. Wang Jie was in front of him. Just like Wang Shi had said, Wang Jie wasn't dead. His spirit had just been absorbed, and Lin Feng had taken him to his spirit's world. The young cultivator had been defeated, but he was extremely strong, so Lin Feng wanted to make him into a demon puppet. Such demon puppets had great potential. With Wang Jie's strength, if he studied the Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures, or the Kulpa Indestructible Devamara skill, and the Devamara body cleansing technique, he would become terrifyingly strong. It was even difficult to imagine how strong he'd become. Lin Feng could have it his own way with his demon puppets. He could do what he wished. Yang Xiao was also seated in a palace, practicing cultivation. He continued assimilating the memories he had stolen. He was still annoyed. Lin Feng had come to the Devamara Thunder clan and ruined his plan. He still wanted some people's memories, especially that girl's memories. And now it was too late. Yang Xiao heard some steps and suddenly opened his eyes. He frowned and stared at the person who was coming. When he saw who they were, he smiled indifferently and said, "Brother Lin, this my place. You came without asking for my permission. Don't you care about the rules?" If Brother Yang accepted a battle to death, I'm sure Brother Lei wouldn't disagree, said Lin Feng, smiling gently. Yang Xiao's face stiffened. Lin Feng was challenging him. Yang Xiao told Lin Feng he couldn't come into his place, and he came in anyway. So what? Yang Xiao smiled coldly. This guy was very self-confident. How could he be sure he was going to defeat Yang Xiao? Yang Xiao had many strong cultivators' memories. He had powerful spells, skills and techniques. At his cultivation level, he didn't have many enemies. Therefore, he had come to participate in the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds. However, he was vigilant when facing Lin Feng. Many great emperors had fought against Lin Feng back then, and Lin Feng had killed them. He was an incredible fighter. How had Lin Feng survived? I really wonder how you survived, Brother Lin Feng. Only your body was left, and your body and the cauldron disappeared. The spiritual body chased you. Was your soul hidden in the cauldron? Yang Xiao asked Lin Feng. You really want to know, said Lin Feng, smiling casually. The 10,000 evolutions cauldron suddenly appeared floating in the air. Dung! Death strength filled the air. Yang Xiao's face turned gray, and he pulled a long face. He jumped backwards, staring at the cauldron. Yang Xiao sensed that cauldron, said Lin Feng, smiling nastily. The cauldron kept ringing. Yang Xiao was shaking before its death strength. The air began to rumble as energies collided. Yang Xiao suddenly stood up as the wall behind him collapsed and turned to dust. He stared at Lin Feng and exclaimed, Lin Feng, don't forget what Brother Lei said. You don't dare kill me in the Devamara Thunder clan. Don't misunderstand me. I'm just letting you sense the strength of the cauldron. Lin Feng smiled back. A terrifying level of strength emerged from the cauldron. Yang Xiao's soul was shaking violently. It felt like it was about to be drawn out of his body. His face turned deathly pale as he shouted furiously. How cruel! Shining deployment lights appeared, and he disappeared. He started running away from his quarters. Very quickly, Yang Xiao appeared outside and pulled a long face. He was surrounded by deployment light. Brother Yang, why run away? Asked Lin Feng serenely, his voice echoing all around. His hands were on his back. He looked quite composed. Death intent pulsed and surrounded Yang Xiao. Yang Xiao felt like he could die anytime. You! Yang Xiao glared at Lin Feng with murder in his eyes. However, Lin Feng didn't even glance at him. He was standing there, poised and aloof. He was waiting for Yang Xiao to attack him first. Yang Xiao smiled coldly, but he didn't attack. His silhouette flickered and he left. Lin Feng chased him closely. Many people saw that and looked amused. Yang Xiao feared Lin Feng. Chapter 2152. Negotiating in the central part of the Devamara Thunder clan, Devamara Kulpa lights shone out. Yang Xiao pulled a long face. Lin Feng was still closely following him. He demanded coldly, Brother Lin, what are you doing? Lin Feng released more Death Dao power around Yang Xiao, but he remained silent. Yang Xiao glared at him coldly, and then he disappeared again. Now outside the Devamara Thunder clan, Yang Xiao rose up into the air above the clouds and stopped. He turned around, his eyes filled with murder. He was losing patience. He really wanted to attack Lin Feng. However, when he saw Lin Feng's face, he was too cautious. He wished he could steal Lin Feng's memories. He wanted to know what Lin Feng was thinking. Lin Feng, don't forget what Lei Dongtian said. Will you dare attack me? Said Yang Xiao coolly. He sounded a bit scared too. He didn't know what Lin Feng was thinking. Everything turned dark. Yang Xiao didn't go too far away. Or he knew that Lin Feng could chase him and suddenly attack him. Deployment lights still surrounded his body. He slowly flew back to the Devamara Thunder clan. After 4 hours, it was already night time. Yang Xiao was seated cross-legged in his quarters again. His eyes were closed, and he was practicing cultivation. The hair on his neck suddenly bristled. He saw a dark silhouette standing in front of him. He was startled and furious, and couldn't control his chi anymore. He shouted furiously, "Bastard, what are you doing?" Lin Feng glanced at him indifferently, and turned around. He just stood there. Yang Xiao was going crazy. He had been calling Lin Feng brother Lin Feng the whole time. But now he called him bastard. He was furious. He wanted to kill Lin Feng. No, he's trying to infuriate me. He wants me to attack him, thought Yang Xiao, trying to keep calm. Even though he was furious, he tried to calm himself. Lin Feng wanted to force him to attack. However, why was Lin Feng so self-confident, to the point that he could stand there with his back turned to him? Yang Xiao smiled coldly on the inside. However, he also knew he couldn't kill Lin Feng easily, so he had to remain vigilant. Of course, thanks to his special ability, he kept becoming stronger and stronger. He could rely on the memories he stole more and more with time. After breaking through to the Di-Chi layer, he'd be able to steal the memories of the cultivators at the top of the Huang-Chi layer. Because he had such a terrifying power, he was always vigilant. Even in the Celestial Remarkable Deployment government, he hadn't tried to steal Lin Feng's memories, because he preferred being vigilant. He initially wanted Lin Feng to stay in the Celestial Remarkable Deployment government, then join the Gon Ministry, and he would have joined hands with Great Emperor Z and attacked him. Now, however, Lin Feng could oppress him without saying anything. Yang Xiao was furious. He was trying to convince himself that Lin Feng wouldn't dare attack him. But as he thought that, death intent surrounded him again. Would Lin Feng dare attack him suddenly? "You're absolutely insane," shouted Yang Xiao furiously. His chi flared around him. He chopped down and energies exploded out. It alarmed many people in the fortress. Many people quickly rushed over and saw the two of them. What were these two doing? The crowd watched them coolly, nobody said anything. They knew that there were tensions between the two, from what Lin Feng had said during the day. Yang Zhao's ability posed a threat to everyone. They had no reason to attack other people. However, everybody considered Yang Zhao's ability dangerous, so even if Lin Feng attacked him, nobody would say anything. Lin Feng kept oppressing Yang Xiao. At the same time, the members of the Pellet King's clan were still in a palace of the Devamara Thunder clan, talking with people from the Devamara Thunder clan. "Brother Lei, you should be satisfied, it's only an emperor. People from the Devamara Thunder clan don't even need to help, they just need to agree," said Wang Shi's grandfather at that moment. However, the person who seemed to be the leader of the group of people from Lei Dongtian's clan remained silent, just listening. Wang Shi's grandfather wanted that emperor, but the Devamara Thunder clan's strong cultivator had doubts. What was his goal? Was it really only because of tensions? Who was willing to give up 3 extremely rare sets of ancient holy scriptures, including some formidable fire control scriptures? The members of the Devamara Thunder clan didn't believe it was possible. The members of the Pellet King's clan couldn't possibly be willing to pay such a high price for an emperor they wanted to kill. Besides, the Devamara Thunder clan wasn't friends with the Pellet King's clan, so the latter could hardly be willing to help the former become stronger. "Dong Tian, what do you think?" The Devamara Thunder clan's lead cultivator of Lei Dongtian calmly. "I brought Lin Feng to the Devamara Thunder clan. Many people were there during the battle, and because Wang Shi was too self-confident, he made his brother fight against Lin Feng. I promised I'd protect Lin Feng if he won and didn't die. I can't go back against my words. If we hand him over, People will think our word is worthless, replied Lei Dongtian calmly. When Wang Shi heard that, he pulled a long face. Indeed, he had been too confident and had agreed to bet. When the members of the Pellet King's clan heard that, they also grimaced. Wang Shi's grandfather said, I know it would put you in a difficult situation. So the Pellet King's clan is willing to prepare a level 7 body cleansing Great Imperial Pellet for you. You're probably happy to hear that, right? When the members of the Devamara Thunder clan heard that, they were stunned. A level 7 Great Imperial Pellet. Even for the Pellet King's clan, that was a priceless pellet, so for Lei Dongtian, it was even more astonishing. 4 mini emperors. Using such pellets was a waste. Even some celestial emperors couldn't benefit from such pellets to the fullest. They were definitely trying their best. No wonder that the Pellet King's clan is a king clan in Godly Cloud City, said the lead cultivator of the Devamara Thunder clan with a knowing smile. After having remaining silent for a few seconds, he said with a flat smile, Dong Tian is an outstanding young man of the Devamara Thunder clan. His face is like ours. If he loses face, the Devamara Thunder clan loses face. He went silent, but didn't expel their guests. He wanted to obtain even more. He was now ready to negotiate. The members of the Pellet King's clan understood what that smile meant. They weren't willing to pay such a price for what they wanted. But the members of the Devamara Thunder clan knew that the members of the Pellet King's clan really wanted Lin Feng. What was their ultimate goal? At that moment, Wang Shi's grandfather said coldly, Since the Devamara Thunder clan isn't ready to accept, we can only rely on ourselves. We'll be off. Goodbye. They stood up, turned around, and started to leave. Get ready to bring Lin Feng to the 4 influential groups, and protect him on the way. Delays may bring more unexpected troubles. New problems could crop up unexpectedly, said the lead cultivator of the Devamara Thunder clan indifferently. The members of the Pellet King's clan suddenly stopped, their faces twitching. I'll tell you the truth. Even though he killed Wang Jie's physical body, his soul hasn't been destroyed. We came here for revenge, but also for Wang Jie's soul. But we can't pay more than that. If you are really not willing to accept our proposition, I am willing to give up. After you send him to the 4 influential groups, we'll go there, and we'll pay the price to get Wang Jie's soul. Wang Shi's grandfather said flatly, they would find a way to get Lin Feng. I see, said the strong cultivator of the Devamara Thunder clan. He understood now. Wang Jie's soul hadn't been destroyed. He could understand their point of view. They had already tried all they could though. What you just said, plus the level 7 Great Imperial Pellet. We must do the trade now. And you can't attack him on our territory. You must first leave. What if he destroys Wang Jie's soul? Asked a cultivator of the Pellet King's clan, turning around. If he wanted to, he would have done it before. That's all we can do. Everybody remained silent at that moment. They had found a compromise. The last step was to be made. Lin Feng had to be brought to them from outside. All right. The cultivator of the Pellet King's clan nodded. They were ready to pay a very high price for Wang Jie. They were willing to make this deal. Lin Feng didn't know the 2 clans were discussing these things. He wanted to turn Wang Jie into a demon puppet. He had kept Wang Jie's soul for his own benefits. But he was unaware of the fact that the Pellet King's clan definitely knew that Wang Jie's soul hadn't been destroyed, and that for that reason, they could come to the Devamara Thunder clan. It was also for their own benefits. People usually did all they could for their own benefits. Chapter 2153. 4 influential groups. Lin Feng was still in Yang Xiao's palace releasing qi. Yang Xiao was still there, his qi and force pulsing out. He wanted to fight against Lin Feng. People stood around and watched without saying anything. However, the eerie silence was finally broken. Lei Dongtian arrived. When he saw what was going on, he was startled. He looked at Lin Feng meaningfully. Lei Dongtian had accepted being a referee for Wang Jie and Lin Feng's battle, and to ensure his safety, and then send him to the 4 influential groups. However, because the Pellet King's clan had accepted to pay a terrifying price, he had to go back on his word. He felt extremely guilty, but what could he do? Not much. It wasn't something his clan would refuse. He kept Wang Jie's soul, That was a big mistake. Lei Dongtian looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng could only blame himself. He had kept Wang Jie's soul. Had he thought the Pellet King's clan would not know about it? Brother Lin, Brother Yang, what are you guys doing here? Said Lei Dongtian, jumping between the two of them. Brother Lei, I don't want to offend the Devamara Thunder clan, but this guy keeps provoking me all the time, said Yang Xiao coldly. At that moment, he wasn't polite anymore. He even sounded cold. His chi continued defying Lin Feng. Lei Dongtian looked over at Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't know what he was facing. But he didn't show Lin Feng something was wrong, he just said, Lin Feng, this is the Devamara Thunder clan. Please forget about your tensions with other people. Besides, I promised I'd take you to one of the 4 influential clans. Which one do you want to go to? I'll take you there tomorrow. Lin Feng looked back at Lei Dongtian and smiled. Don't worry, I respect the rules here. I just wanted to chat about cultivation with Brother Yang. But Yang Xiao didn't give me a warm welcome. Lei Dongtian nodded and said, All right, I'm relieved. The 4 influential clans can choose people who will participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. The first influential group is the Holy Cultivation Tower in the eastern town. They have existed for a very long time. Many saints have emerged from there. They have the longest history in the eastern town. The second influential group is Golden Mountain. They are also very old. They have many powers, great scholastic masters, and are extremely strong. Even in Godly Cloud City, many extremely powerful weapons are created there, including some saints' weapons. They are terrifyingly strong. The current leader of Golden Mountain is a great weapon master. Lei Dongtian explained slowly. Lin Feng took a deep breath, his heart pounding. Becoming a great deployment master was already incredible. They were famous. But making weapons at such a level was even more complex. People who were great weapon masters had to first be great deployment masters. Golden Mountain had such a cultivator. They had to be extremely strong. They were probably among the strongest in Eastern Town. The third influential group is Demon Sect. They are terrifyingly strong demon cultivators. It's a holy place for demon cultivators. The competition is fierce there. They have raised many terrifying demon cultivators. The fourth group is Ghosts and Spirits Temple. People there practice a strange kind of cultivation and are dangerously strong. They control soul strength and can control and kill people's souls. Their powers are terrifying. After Lei Dongtian told Lin Feng about the 4 different groups, he smiled. Lin Feng, those are the 4 influential groups of the Eastern Town. They can select cultivators who will participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Now that you know what kind of groups they are, which one would you like to go to? I can take you there tomorrow. Lin Feng's eyes twinkled. He remained silent for a few seconds, staring at Lei Dongtian's eyes and said, No matter what, they're just interesting because they will select the fighters. I don't really care, I'll choose Golden Mountain. All right, have a good rest. And tomorrow I will send someone who will bring you there and protect you on the way, said Lei Dongtian formally. He glanced around and left. He didn't get involved in Lin Feng and Yang Xiao's affairs. After all, Lin Feng had said he wouldn't attack and kill Yang Xiao. They can't fight. Boring. Some people laughed before leaving. Lin Feng didn't leave, however. He was still standing there and looking at Yang Xiao calmly. You're not leaving? Yang Xiao stared at him with murder in his eyes. Lin Feng didn't look at him, and didn't reply either. He was just standing there. The atmosphere was really oppressive to Yang Xiao. He said coldly, Since you like it here, stay here. We'll see if you dare attack me. Yang Xiao sat down in the remains of the broken wall, and closed his eyes again, ignoring Lin Feng. The whole night, Yang Xiao neither practiced cultivation nor had a rest. Lin Feng's chi didn't disperse the whole night. Even if he knew Lin Feng wasn't going to attack, could he possibly relax his vigilance? What if Lin Feng went crazy? It was morning before Lin Feng left, and went back to his own palace. Yang Xiao drew a deep breath. Lei Dongtian was going to send that crazy bastard guy to one of the 4 groups, finally. He wouldn't need to worry anymore. Lin Feng's quarters were extremely large. By the time Lei Dongtian came, Lin Feng was already ready and at the door. Lin Feng smiled and said, Brother Lei, you're early. I'll be relieved when you're safe. Lei Dongtian smiled. Lin Feng, let's go. Some people are waiting already. Alright, let's go. Lin Feng followed Lei Dongtian and they left. As expected outside, there were strong cultivators of the Devamara Thunder clan waiting outside. They looked extremely strong. There were great emperors, even some celestial emperors. Let's go, ordered Lei Dongtian. Instantly, the crowd headed to the exit of the clan. At the same time, some people were waiting up in the clouds. One of them opened his eyes suddenly and said, "They're already out of the Devamara Thunder clan, get ready." All right. Everybody nodded, ready to attack. Lin Feng. Wang Shi was in the crowd too, and staring at Lin Feng coldly. He was still furious, still responsible for Lin Feng and Wang Jie's battle, and had made his clan lose face. He couldn't regain face anymore. The leader of the group, an old man, released his godly awareness and inspected the area. They were a fair distance from the Devamara Thunder clan already. They had agreed not to attack within the Devamara Thunder clan, and had to move quickly. Their force was extremely powerful. Down below, Lin Feng and the others were getting closer and closer. At that moment, Lin Feng spoke up. "Wait. Brother Lin, what's wrong?" asked Lei Dongtian. "Brother Lei, are we going to Golden Mountain?" inquired Lin Feng. "Yes, according to your request, Brother Lin Feng." "I changed my mind. Let's go the demon sect instead," said Lin Feng. Lei Dongtian was dumbfounded. "Lin Feng, why?" "I'm also a demon cultivator. I suddenly realized demon sect would be better for me," said Lin Feng. Lei Dongtian remained silent for a few seconds before nodding. "Alright, let's go to demon sect instead." They turned around. The members of the Devamara Thunder clan didn't say anything. They were staying around Lin Feng to protect him. They flew away for a short time. "Stop!" shouted a strong cultivator of the Devamara Thunder clan. Whose godly awareness? A mighty energy filled the air and blotted out the sky. A silhouette descended from above, an army behind him. Pellet King's clan. The silhouettes of the Devamara Thunder clan's cultivators flickered. However, at that moment, the members of the Pellet King's clan also moved. In the blink of an eye, they surrounded everyone. They had the advantage in terms of both number of people and their strength. "Pellet King's clan, what's that supposed to mean?" asked a member of the Devamara Thunder clan coldly. "Nothing. We just want one of your people," said the strong cultivator of the Pellet King's clan, coldly staring at Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng looked unruffled. He didn't look confused or scared at all. Chapter 2154. Undercover. Back in the Devamara Thunder clan, where Lin Feng had spent the night, some chi dispersed and Lin Feng appeared. If the Devamara Thunder clan had seen him, they would have been surprised. This Lin Feng was suddenly surrounded by a whirlwind, and his silhouette flickered. He left the place, and moved towards Yang Zhao's residence. There were no guards in those areas, because the Devamara Thunder clan had invited these people. People here had privileges, only lacking access to a few forbidden areas. At that moment, Yang Zhao's eyes were closed. Lin Feng had put pressure on him for half the day before. He was really pissed off. And now that Lin Feng had left, he felt greatly relieved. However, he now heard a sound. He suddenly turned around and saw a hurricane rolled in waves towards him. He shouted coldly, "Who?" The wind stopped, a silhouette appeared. Yang Xiao frowned and said coldly, "You haven't left yet?" "No rush. Brother Yang Xiao, you're still here. Why would I leave so quickly?" Lin Feng smiled. A particular chi emerged from Lin Feng's body as he took out a talisman. When Yang Xiao saw Lin Feng's smile, he felt chilled and spat out. "Lin Feng, it's the Devamara Thunder clan here. If you attack me, I won't be polite. Don't worry, I won't kill you in the Devamara Thunder clan. That way, the Devamara Thunder clan won't be able to blame me." Lin Feng smiled. Yang Xiao groaned coldly. Everybody knew that things worked that way. Lin Feng suddenly disappeared, reappearing in front of Yang Xiao, who frowned and suddenly released explosive chi. But Lin Feng didn't attack. Some invisible and intangible chi just moved towards him, surrounded him, and suddenly, Yang Xiao disappeared inside that chi. "The Devamara Thunder clan doesn't respect rules. Why would I respect their rules?" said Lin Feng coldly. The chi slowly penetrated into Lin Feng's body, and he also disappeared. Yang Xiao was in Lin Feng's spirit's world. Those days, Lin Feng's world was quite solid and stable. He was a high-level emperor. Yang Xiao couldn't break it. If Lin Feng managed to turn him into a demon puppet, with his ability to steal people's memories, it would be an incredible boon. Therefore, Lin Feng had never intended to let him off. It was just a matter of time. The day before, when Lei Dongtian had said to Lin Feng he'd take him to one of the 4 groups, he had sensed something was wrong. He had killed Wang Jia, and the Pellet King's clan couldn't let him off. If Lei Dongtian had really wanted to take him to one of the 4 clans, he would have hidden extremely well. He wouldn't have traveled in the open, and even less so the very next day. He would have helped Lin Feng hide in the clan for some time first. That morning, when Lin Feng saw Lei Dongtian, he understood even more that something was wrong. Even though the people who were taking him to the influential group were strong, it was far from enough to fight against people from the Pellet King's clan in case they were attacked. If the Devamara Thunder clan had wanted to ensure his safety, they would have sent a stronger force, and would have made sure that nobody could attack by surprise from any side. The Devamara Thunder clan hadn't planned very well, as they didn't think that Lin Feng could use clones. Lin Feng's real body moved towards the outside invisibly fast. Even though the Devamara Thunder clan had some sentinels in charge of overlooking entries and exits, they actually only watched people who came in, and not people who went out. The Devamara Thunder clan wasn't the only clan who did that. Most clans did it that way. Why watch people who were leaving? In that kind of clan, there were people coming in and out every day. Sentinels couldn't waste time on people who were leaving. Therefore, Lin Feng left the clan easily. Shortly after leaving, he changed his face and went far away. Since he couldn't trust the Devamara Thunder clan, he preferred relying on himself. When he saw that the Pellet King's clan was waiting for him on the way, he was convinced that the Devamara Thunder clan had sold him out, and therefore, he had to hurry and leave as quickly as possible. His clone and the members of the Devamara Thunder clan were surrounded, and a terrifying chi surrounded Lin Feng. The Devamara Thunder clan can't protect you. Lin Feng smiled in an evil way. He wasn't an ordinary clone. Strong cultivators could easily recognize clones of bad quality. This clone's chi and Lin Feng's original chi were perfectly identical. The only difference was that this body was made from Lin Feng's condensed soul strength. How can you smile now? Wang Shi released a terrifying fire. The atmosphere started burning around him. I'm laughing because of you. The Devamara Thunder clan agreed to take me to Golden Mountain, but they went back on their word. Now you've intercepted me, but it's only one of my clones. Watch carefully, replied Lin Feng, laughing as he turned into a thread of chi. After a short time, the chi condensed again, and turned into Lin Feng again. He smiled at all the members of the Pellet King's clan. The ambushers frowned when they saw that the leader of the group of people from the Pellet King's clan was still Wang Shi's grandfather. He pulled a long face. At his cultivation level, when Lin Feng's soul strength condensed into the clone, he could naturally see it was a clone, of course. However, when it was condensed, he surprisingly couldn't see any differences. How formidable! The members of the Devamara Thunder clan were stupefied too. They couldn't refute what Lin Feng had just said about them. But could they admit that they had sold Lin Feng out in front of everybody? The members of the Pellet King's clan looked at the members of the Devamara Thunder clan. The leader of the group said telepathically, "So that is how the Devamara Thunder clan does things. We don't know what's going on either. He knows cloning techniques. We're just like you, he fooled us, we didn't know," replied the lead cultivator of the Devamara Thunder clan the same way. They were all stunned. Could they capture the clone or not? How was the Devamara Thunder clan supposed to react? The members of the Devamara were really embarrassed. But at that moment, Lei Dongtian's face stiffened as he thought. This guy noticed something was wrong, so he was waiting outside of his rooms. His body should still be there, and his clone must be wasting time. None of these people were stupid, and were even quite smart. Very quickly, they understood they had underestimated Lin Feng, and had been careless. Control the entrances of the 4 influential groups. If Lin Feng wants to escape, he'll go to the 4 influential groups. We'll go back to the Devamara Thunder clan to see if he's still there. We'll control this clone, said the lead cultivator of the Devamara Thunder clan to the Pellet King's clan's strong cultivators. They were trying to find a solution. Lin Feng probably wouldn't give up his soul strength. Very good. I hope for you your real body won't end up in our hands, said Wang Shi's grandfather coldly. He released a terrifying Dao power, which penetrated into Lin Feng's clone body. Lin Feng sensed a terrifying fire and groaned with pain, his face turning deathly pale. However, he still glared back at the enemy coldly. If he managed to obtain the necklace of the 4 influential groups, he'd be safe, and nobody would dare attack him. He would definitely make them regret this then. Let's go, the grandfather waved, as killing Lin Feng's clone was useless. They needed the real body. Phew. The members of the Devamara Thunder clan took a deep breath. Lei Dongtian landed next to Lin Feng and smiled. Brother Lin, you're extremely strong. We didn't even notice you were a clone, otherwise, it would have been bad luck for you. Let's go back to the Devamara Thunder clan. Lin Feng looked back at Lei Dongtian. Surprisingly, he managed to keep calm next to Lin Feng, as if nothing had happened. Lin Feng had to admire such acting talents. If it hadn't looked that real, it would have been bad luck indeed, said Lin Feng smiled back. Then, he turned around and moved back to the members of the Devamara Thunder clan. They had said they were going to keep this clone, so he could go back with them, so what? His real body needed to go to one of the 4 clans, and then he'd come back to the Devamara Thunder clan and take his clone back. Lin Feng wasn't stupid. He wasn't going to kill people within the territory of one of the 4 influential groups. Lin Feng couldn't take risks. He had to change his social status and hide within the crowd. His clone just went easily along with them back to the Devamara Thunder clan. When Lei Dongtian brought Lin Feng's clone back, he discovered something else strange. Yang Xiao had disappeared. Chapter 2155. Selection. Yang Xiao had disappeared. Many of the guests of the Devamara Thunder clan were surprised to see that. Those people gathered together again, and at the same time they were stupefied to see Lei Dongtian and Lin Feng come back. Lei Dongtian had said he'd take Lin Feng to one of the 4 influential groups, but now he was back again? At that moment, Lei Dongtian turned around and smiled at Lin Feng. Brother Lin, where's Yang Xiao? You probably know where he is, right? Yang Xiao has hands and feet. He can go wherever he wants. Besides, he has some terrifying deployment items, and is extremely fast. Even if he runs away, I can't catch up with him, said Lin Feng cheerfully, sounding like it was all a game. Lei Dongtian was angry. Everybody had seen that there were tensions between Lin Feng and Yang Xiao the day before. After he had taken Lin Feng's clone away, Lin Feng's real body had probably taken Yang Xiao away. Lin Feng was the only suspect. But how could Lin Feng admit he had done it? Brother Lin, you must be joking, said Lei Dongtian. Demon lights slowly appeared and surrounded Lin Feng. He was furious. However, Lin Feng was even more furious, as the Devamara Thunder clan had promised him something, and then sold him out to the Pellet King's clan. He would definitely settle accounts with them at some point and properly. If they hadn't accepted acting as referees, promising to protect him and send him to the 4 clans, it would have been fine, but they had voluntarily accepted the responsibility, and Lin Feng couldn't understand such a behavior. Brother Lei, are you joking? I followed you this morning. If I had attacked Yang Xiao yesterday, people would have sensed the energies of the battle. Don't you think so? Asked Lin Feng, glancing at the crowd. He sounded wrongly accused. These people were in the same area as he was. If a big battle had taken place, they would have noticed it. However, he had absorbed Yang Xiao into his spirit's world, and nobody had sensed anything. Lei Dongtian was speechless for a moment before saying coldly, "Since it's that way, I will investigate and find out the truth myself." After that, Lei Dongtian's silhouette flickered, and he left in a huff. However, the crowd only looked amused. Something was wrong. Lei Dongtian and Lin Feng looked strange. What had happened on the way to the 4 clans? Lin Feng's eyes glittered with cold lights. His silhouette flickered, and he entered a waiting villa and didn't come back out. During the following days, Some news stories spread in the eastern town of Godly Cloud City. They made the Devamara Thunder clan furious. The stories were about the Pellet King's clan and the members from Red Clouds. Back then, Lin Feng had killed Wang Jia. Then Lei Dongtian had agreed to protect Lin Feng and to take him to the 4 influential groups. Then, Lei Dongtian hadn't kept his promise, and the Devamara Thunder clan had sold Lin Feng out. Lin Feng had gone through hardships and still hadn't managed to reach the 4 influential groups safely. It didn't matter whether the rumors were true or not. They were just unfavorable for the Devamara Thunder clan. Even though most people did things for their own benefit, such behavior was still considered despicable. They had gone a bit too far. After the rumors started spreading in Godly Cloud City, some people also talked about how things had happened when the members of the Pellet King's clan had surrounded them and everything. The people believed the rumors even more. How could such a strong clan as the Devamara Thunder clan fail to protect Lin Feng? And how had they bumped into the Pellet King's clan on the way? The Devamara Thunder clan didn't refute the rumor, and the Pellet King's clan didn't say anything either. Both groups had lost face. Back then, the Pellet King's clan had the chance to have a fair battle, and then they had sent some cultivators to the Devamara Thunder clan to get their revenge. Now everybody thought both clans' behavior was outrageous. Many people were talking about those things in the eastern town of Godly Cloud City. Many cultivators were speechless. Even extremely strong cultivators would act in a despicable way. How hypocritical! Many people understood even more clearly that all that mattered were personal gains in life. But many other people also distinguished strength from personal gains and placed strength above all. Lin Feng went back to the Yi clan, took off his mask, and used the face he had used there. It was similar to his real one, but his chi was different. He was surrounded by demon lights. He looked clean and demoniac. He also looked older, like someone who had gone through a lot of hardships in life. But at the same time he also looked honest. He didn't look handsome in his own way. Cultivators were handsome because they took care of their bodies. Women were pretty, men looked handsome. However, Lin Feng looked handsome but different from the standard. He easily went into the Yi clan by oppressing many people with his terrifying demon cosmic energies. He just needed to take the exam now, and then they'd send him to one of the 4 influential groups. Otherwise, Lin Feng tried to remain discreet. He just practiced cultivation and acted as if worldly affairs had nothing to do with him. Of course, he didn't forget about Yang Xiao, trapped in his spirit world. Regarding Yang Xiao, who was trapped like a turtle in a jar, even if he had many hidden abilities, in Lin Feng's spirit world, he couldn't use cosmic energies. He was stuck in a dead end. Just like Wang Jia, Lin Feng would turn him into a demon puppet. This guy's special abilities would be really helpful to Lin Feng. Lin Feng was meditating in seclusion and didn't draw people's attention. The day of selection for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds was approaching quickly. More and more strong cultivators gathered in the 12 districts of Godly Cloud City, including the eastern town. Prince Wu Qing from Dark Night and Jiuling Huang from Red Clouds were both in the Yi clan. Many strong cultivators paid attention to them. The eastern town was stirring up with excitement and agitation again. Jade Cloud's first master, Yu Qing, had arrived. 3 of the first masters of the continent were now in the eastern town of Godly Cloud City. Some powerful groups of the eastern town sent some people to check Yu Qing's strength. The results of the battles were all the same, without any exceptions. Yu Qing was terrifying, killing all of them by destroying their 7 apertures. His reputation wasn't undeserved. The number of first masters was limited, and even though there were many geniuses there, those first masters probably had the potential to rank in the top during the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. They were incredibly strong. The time to select fighters was 3 days later, and then they would go to the 4 influential groups. The different groups started the exams. Many people would be eliminated, and the rest would be sent to the 4 influential groups. The Yi clan also started the exams. 300 some people had gathered on a gigantic field. They were all guests who were going to compete to get qualified. Only those who managed to go to the 4 clans would have the opportunity to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Many strong cultivators from the Yi clan gathered on the field as well. There were also some senior officials of the Yi clan in the bleachers. They wanted to watch the exam. It was an important event for them. They couldn't select people who weren't strong enough. Otherwise, what would they say to the 4 influential groups to justify themselves? This time, people from everywhere have come to the eastern town to compete and get qualified to go on to the 4 influential groups, and then participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. You probably all know about the 4 influential groups already: Holy Cultivation Tower, Golden Mountain, Demon Sect, and Ghosts and Spirits Temple. You can imagine what it would be like if those 4 different groups chose only 10 people. So many people have to be eliminated. There are 12 towns in Godly Cloud City, after all. We have to eliminate many people and keep real and heroic geniuses only. Therefore, we have to impose strict rules. This time, we'll select 30 people only. Therefore, most people will be eliminated. We apologize for this. We have so many people, and only 30 will be selected. That's nothing. People's eyes glittered. They were all under pressure. They were real geniuses, none of them were weak. They had come from everywhere in the continent of the 9 clouds, and they were competing at the top level of the Huangqi layer. Those 30 people will move on to the 4 influential groups. At the 4 influential groups, there won't only be 300-something people. Adding the people of the 4 influential groups, that'll be 1,000, plus with the people of the 12 towns, that'll be 10,000. So the selection will be as strict as here once again. Concerning those who would participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, out of 100 people, 1 only would be selected. Lin Feng was in the crowd, and when he heard that, he was surprised. The meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds was for people from the continent of the 9 clouds. There were too many geniuses in Godly Cloud City. Prince Wu Qing and Jiuling Huang are already selected, which means only 28 people can still be selected. I think none of you mind, said the strong cultivator of the Yi clan. The crowd was angry at those 2 people. Most felt they had done nothing to be selected directly. All right, now everybody please gather on the martial arts stage. I'll select candidates, said the senior official. The first round wasn't going to be too complex. After all, heroes couldn't be eliminated, and those eliminated, even if they were a bit unlucky, stood no chance anyway. So reaching the 4 influential groups would be useless for them. To the different small groups of Godly Cloud City, choosing the geniuses was a small thing, yet important. Many people were going to have to give up their dream of participating in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds though. Chapter 2156. Golden Mountain people jumped onto the martial arts stage one after another. They made a big circle just like the senior official asked them. In a short while I'll oppress everyone. If you fall off the stage because of the pressure, you can leave the Yi clan. Of course, you can also stay here and watch if you wish. You're welcome here as before, said the senior official of the Yi clan solemnly. Then he stepped forwards and a terrifying pressure came down on the martial arts stage. He skipped to the center of the martial arts stage. The air began to rumble. Lights dashed to the skies and surrounded everybody. Everybody sensed the overwhelming pressure. That kind of pressure contained a special kind of strength, as it kept attacking their minds. That special strength seemed to operate according to rules, as each wave of strength was more powerful than the previous one. Very quickly, many people had cold sweats. Their hearts accelerated. It was getting more and more difficult to resist. Lin Feng stood there and looked calm and composed. His physical strength was too incredible. He could naturally sense the oppressive energies, but they didn't affect him at all. But not everybody was like Lin Feng. Lin Feng had been cleansed by Devamara Kulpa strength a few times. He was extremely strong for an emperor. These days, only emperors at the very, very top of the Huangqi layer could compete with him. The senior official of the Yi clan took another step. Terrifying oppressive energies kept shaking the contestants. Someone was hurled off the martial arts stage. He pulled a long face. His silhouette flickered and he was gone. He was the first one to be eliminated. He felt too ashamed to stay and watch. With such pressure, I won't be able to resist much longer, thought many people panting hard. In their respective hometowns, They were considered extremely strong. People called them geniuses and respected them. But here they had the feeling they were merely ordinary. They realized that the world was too big. There were too many geniuses. The pressure grew more and more intense. More and more people fell to it. Each time a new wave of oppressive energy came down, their heartbeats accelerated. Indeed, selecting people this way was quick and efficient. After a short time, less than 100 people were left. However, the strong cultivator didn't stop. Even though Prince Wuxia and Jiuling Huang weren't taking the exam, they were also on the martial arts stage. They also sensed the pressure, but they stood there calmly, as if the strength couldn't affect them. The pressure grew more and more weighty. The senior official stepped forward once again. The air quaked, and lights flashed this time. He put his foot down 3 times. Many people groaned with pain or coughed up blood. Some people were forced off from the battle stage. It didn't stop. More waves of energies pulsed out. After the 9th wave, many people were hurled back. They looked at the battle stage and noticed only around 50 people were left. Some people left the Yi clan. Some others continued watching. They looked desperate and disappointed. They hadn't even passed the Yi clan's exam. It was a sad moment for them. Many people had traveled across the world to come here. But in the end, they wouldn't be able to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. The senior official of the Yi clan glanced at those left and smiled calmly. Only around 50 people remained. They were all extremely strong. It was going to be much easier for him. If you manage to force someone off the battle stage, then you'll be selected, and those who are forced off will be eliminated. Prince Wuxia and Jiuling Huang, don't participate, said the senior official of the Yi clan with a smile. The fighters' eyes glittered as they glanced around unhappily. They could force anyone off the battle stage to be selected? Of course, if a person had the chance not to be targeted at all, and ended up in the remaining 30 cultivators, they'd pass too. It all depended on people's choices. If they had the initiative, they'd be able to choose their target. It depended on luck. How could they know who was strong or weak? It wasn't really fair. But the senior official of the Yi clan didn't care. Among the 30 people who were going to be selected, maybe 5 would be selected to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Therefore, if 5 such people were there on the stage, they wouldn't be eliminated. Finally, someone moved. He had blood at the corner of his mouth. He moved in an eye blink. A sharp golden spear appearing. Space was bending around it. It was Dao power. In the twinkling of an eye, the atmosphere seemed to freeze. The face of the person who was targeted turned deathly pale. He couldn't dodge. He had to counterattack with even more strength to stay on the stage. Otherwise, he'd be forced off it and eliminated. Many people moved towards the center of the stage when they saw that they couldn't afford to give an enemy a chance. His attack was powerful. If they stayed near the edge, it could reach them. If they fell off accidentally, they'd be eliminated too. Lin Feng didn't move, confident of himself. However, someone looked at him, and that person charged him as an oppressive strength surrounded him. The attacker's eyes were pitch black, before fading to emptiness. He was trying to hypnotize Lin Feng. He was extremely strong, and had a powerful vision technique. However, that person saw that Lin Feng was totally calm and collected. Just before cursing strength emerged from Lin Feng's eyes. Wisdom King Dharmalaksana's strength appeared and blinded the attacker. He was being cursed. "Piss off!" shouted someone explosively. He groaned in pain. When he came back to his senses, he moved back. He had to move back without having reached his goal. Lin Feng still stood there on the edge of the battle stage, looking confident. A terrifying qi emerged behind him. He wasn't attacking Lin Feng anymore. So someone else attacked him. He turned around and saw a terrifying fist coming in, containing immense bestial strength. It crashed onto his chest and a hole appeared. He was smashed off the battle stage. "Bastard!" he shouted explosively. However, the other one looked at him coolly and said, "Since you attacked other people, you should have been ready to be attacked by other people," before heading towards someone else. People kept shouting unceasingly on the martial arts stage. "It's enough. You have exactly 30 people left," said the senior official of the Yi clan, smiling. Everybody stopped. They weren't enemies. They just wanted to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Since the first round was over, they could stop. The first round was really easy indeed. They didn't need much time. Those qualified to go to the 4 influential groups had been selected already. Those who had been eliminated would have stood no chance at the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds anyway. Congratulations to those who succeeded. We collaborate with Golden Mountain. So in 3 days, early in the morning we'll gather there. Some cultivators from the Yi clan will take you to Golden Mountain. Get ready to compete for the next round, which will determine whether you can participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds or not, said the senior official of the Yi clan with a broad smile. People nodded. Some people looked excited, some others looked indifferent, as if nothing had happened. Their goal wasn't to be selected for the next round, but to be selected for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Many people sighed at the foot of the martial arts stage, thinking, I failed in the first round. There's another round in the 4 influential groups, and then there will be the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. What kind of people will end up at the top of the rankings of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds? Thinking about that made them sigh. No wonder some people said that the top 100 cultivators of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds were powerful and influential throughout the whole continent of the 9 clouds. The crowd gradually dispersed. Lin Feng also left calmly. During these few days, many of the groups of Godly Cloud City organized exams. Afterwards, they'd head to the 4 influential groups. It meant that the date of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds was approaching quickly. Lin Feng followed some people slowly and gazed into the distance. He saw a golden empty space castle in the distance, reaching up to the clouds. It looked unique. That's Golden Mountain, said someone. The air began to whistle above them. Some people were moving quickly towards Golden Mountain in the distance. Even though those people were far from Lin Feng and the others, they could sense the chi of the people in the distance. Before entering Golden Mountain, some people glanced at one another. They might become enemies inside. Chapter 2157. Time passes. Golden Mountain was the strongest weapon manufacturing clan, unmatched in Godly Cloud City. Their disciples were all powerful weapon makers. They first had to understand deployment spells, and then they had to study weapon manufacturing techniques. Such people couldn't be weak. In the continent, people who were alchemists, weapon makers, and so on had to be extremely strong. In order to become powerful weapon makers or alchemists, they first had to improve their own strength, which was not easy. Therefore, really powerful weapon makers and alchemists were usually quite old. Even if they were really talented, at the same cultivation level as other people, they were usually a bit older, because it took time to improve their weapon and pellet manufacturing skills. When people saw Golden Mountain, they had the impression it had been created like an imposing and magnificent weapon. It looked extraordinary. There were many dazzling and golden buildings floating in the air there. While watching those buildings, they could almost hear the narrations about Golden Mountain's splendid and glorious past in their heads. That's where emperors will gather, said the strong cultivator of the Yi clan, pointing at a place in the distance. There was a floating stage there, with many people aboard already. Lin Feng and the others arrived and slowly descended from the sky. They looked at the other deployment palaces, as Qi was still emerging from there. Godly Cloud City is in the central part of the continent of the 9 clouds. Golden Mountain's halls are made on the same basis as indestructible weapons. Such buildings are terrifying, thought Lin Feng. That was the secret of Golden Mountain. Lin Feng had been to the Devamara Thunder clan and seen that they also had secrets. They had a Devamara Kulpa fortress floating in the air. It looked dignified and majestic, vast and boundless. However, Golden Mountain's buildings looked even more spectacular than the Devamara Thunder clan's ones. Holy Cultivation Tower, Demon Sect, Ghosts and Spirits Temple. What do those places look like? Wondered Lin Feng. The eastern town of Godly Cloud City was extremely vast. The 4 influential groups had different positions there. Without incredible achievements, it wasn't easy to go to the 4 influential groups. Lin Feng looked at the other deployment palaces, feeling that time was being modified around them. There were a dozen palaces, 300 people each, which meant that more than 3,000 people had been eliminated. Those 3,000 people were extremely strong, or the ancient holy clans wouldn't have accepted them in the first place. Sharp whistling sounds came from the distance. The crowd turned around and saw gigantic discs moving towards them. There were strong cultivators on the golden discs, and it felt like they were able to travel across time and space. Very quickly, they gathered together, and their discs turned into one gigantic golden disc. Some strong cultivators were aboard it. The crowd could see them clearly. What a terrifying speed. That disc is a very powerful great imperial weapon. Someone whispered. The gigantic disc then divided into several parts again, and turned into a spiral flight of stairs. The few people walked forwards and looked at the crowd. The leader of the group was a middle-aged man wearing a golden robe, looking clean and noble. He looked at the leader of the deployment palaces and nodded. "Thank you for your hard work, everybody." "It is my duty," said the cultivators, one after another, bowing respectfully. The middle-aged man looked at the crowd of fighters and smiled. "Everybody, you're here in Golden Mountain, which means that you have the potential to be selected for the meeting of the Continent of the Nine Clouds. The meeting of the Continent of the Nine Clouds will start in 3 months from today. In 2 months, my group Golden Mountain will start the selection process. The most outstanding cultivators will be selected. During these 2 months, apart from forbidden areas, you can go anywhere. If you need help, just ask." He waved. Golden robes appeared in the air and he said, "Those are the golden robes we have prepared for everybody. For your safety, please wear them. If you wear them, it means you are temporary members of Golden Mountain, and you will participate in the selection process. Nobody will dare attack you. If we have announcements to make, we'll also be able to contact you." Everybody put on the robes. They could already see that these robes weren't ordinary. Even though they weren't useful to them, at least people outside would recognize them as people from Golden Mountain and wouldn't dare attack them. Pale lights undulated on them. As the man had said, the robes contained receptors which allowed the wearers to receive messages from Golden Mountain. Of course, if you use that social status to kill people recklessly and insolently, we won't protect you, said the middle-aged man, suddenly sounding cold. It meant that some people had probably used those robes to steal treasures or kill people. So he was warning them. Golden Mountain protected the people because they were maybe going to be selected for the meeting of the Continent of the Nine Clouds. Not so they could kill people recklessly in Godly Cloud City. "We understand," said everybody. But they also understood that as long as they didn't act too recklessly, people in Godly Cloud City wouldn't dare attack them. "All right, today, everybody has gathered here. But it's just for an introduction, and to give you a designation. During these 2 months, if there's anything else, Golden Mountain will contact you," said the middle-aged man to everyone. And then he looked at those who had brought them there again. "Thank you for your help, everybody." After that, the middle-aged went back onto the top disc. However, some people stayed behind. It was a simple introduction meeting for the meeting of the Continent of the Nine Clouds. "If you want to live in Golden Mountain, follow me and I'll show you our headquarters," said one of the strong cultivators of Golden Mountain who had stayed there. "Since I'm here, I can find a place to stay." "Right. We'll be able to spend time here and enjoy Golden Mountain." Nobody wanted to leave quickly, as they didn't lack time. The members of Golden Mountain took them to different golden halls and showed them where they could stay. Everybody had a great room and a splendid courtyard. "Bro, let's go and see weapon makers. We've seen pellet makers, but we haven't seen great scholars yet," Yao Yao said to Jiuling Huang. She sounded excited. Jiuling Huang and the others had all come to Golden Mountain. They were really strong and had been able to withstand the Yi clan's senior officials' oppressive strength, so they had gotten qualified. Jiuling Huang was already qualified ahead of time too. They all had earned the opportunity to come to Golden Mountain. Lin Feng looked over at Yao Yao. She was an extremely strong pill maker, and she wasn't a bad fighter either. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to withstand the pressure. No wonder she was a king's descendant in Red Clouds. "All right," said Jiuling Huang nodded. As a respected scholar himself, he also wanted to see how people made great imperial weapons. Lin Feng had seen people make powerful weapons. He had even helped Mu Lin Shui make weapons. Back then, they had made powerful weapons together. But at his cultivation level, he wasn't interested in imperial weapons anymore. He was interested in great scholastic masters of weapon manufacturing arts, and how powerful their deployment spells were. Lin Feng arrived in his hall, going to a cultivation room to practice cultivation. There were a few people in his spirit world: Yang Xiao, Wang Jie, Yi Kei, and some others. Those three people were extraordinarily talented, especially Yang Xiao and Wang Jie. Yang Xiao could steal people's memories, and Wang Jie was an extraordinary fighter. However, now, their eyes were filled with demon lights. They had turned into Lin Feng's demon puppets. The celestial evolution holy scriptures are yours already. Practice cultivation as hard as you can. Wang Jie, you're from the Pellet King's clan. You have many medical recipes and your physical strength is terrifying. I'll give you the Kulpa Indestructible Devamara skill. Make your physical body even more powerful. Yi Kei, you can study the 3,000 great deployment spells and my deployment spells. Use your full strength to practice cultivation. Lin Feng instructed the three cultivators. Yes, master. The three people bowed. These three demon puppets were Lin Feng's best ones. He had to take good care of them. Yang Xiao, continue developing and improving your memory-stealing ability. I may need you at any time, said Lin Feng to Yang Xiao. Go now, ordered Lin Feng indifferently. In the twinkling of an eye, the three people dispersed to practice cultivation. Lin Feng also closed his eyes and started practicing cultivation. The meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds was going to start soon. Lin Feng needed to become stronger. He needed to be sure he could defeat the geniuses at the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. How strong were the 3rd and 4th beasts of the animal district? How strong was Saint Tianhun? And what about that terrifying cultivator, who had a spiritual deployment body? The first masters of the continent of the 9 clouds? How strong were they? How strong had Chu Chunqiu become? What about those people who had king-type bodies? How strong would they be on the stage of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds? Lin Feng didn't know these things, and he had to prepare. Chapter 2158. 1 month passed, a month passed. The meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds was approaching. People were getting excited in godly clouds. At the Devamara Thunder clan, Lin Feng's clone suddenly opened his eyes, and his silhouette flickered. He moved towards the exit of the palace. In all the palaces surrounding that one, he was the only person left. The others had all left and gone to the Holy Cultivation Tower, where they might have been selected for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. The Devamara Thunder clan's strong cultivators were watching his clone, but now he had to leave. At night, a few people followed Lin Feng. When he arrived at the periphery of the Devamara Thunder clan, a few people prevented him from leaving. I went to Golden Mountain a month ago. I might be selected for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Why continue this little game of yours? Said Lin Feng coldly. That was these people's fear. Since Lin Feng had joined one of the 4 influential groups, nobody could attack him anymore. Make your real body come out to talk, ordered one of them coldly. However, when that person said that, they looked over and saw someone wearing a golden robe. That golden robe was Golden Mountain's robe. Are you looking for me? Said Lin Feng indifferently. The members of the Devamara Thunder clan frowned and stared at Lin Feng. One of them asked coldly, You're Lin Feng? Indeed. My clone is made of my soul. Back then I changed my face. Therefore, my clone looks different from me. Now he's mine again. Lin Feng smiled coldly. His clone moved towards him. They stood next to one another. Suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes filled with ice-cold lights and murderous intent. The 2 great emperors frowned, clearly seeing that Lin Feng wanted to kill them. Lin Feng groaned coldly, and the 10,000 evolutions cauldron appeared. A terrifying death sound rang out, and made them shake. At the same time, the 10,000 evolutions cauldron diffused dazzling lights around them. Instantly, the 2 people had the impression their souls were going to be sucked into it. Their faces changed drastically. Die, said Lin Feng, moving in a blur of motion, a sword appearing and lacerating the space. No. One of the great emperors released chi. Terrifying Devamara lights appeared, and he punched out. His punch was incredibly quick and contained powerful demon cosmic energies. Lin Feng shifted position. Deployment lights appeared. His silhouette disappeared. He reappeared in front of the great emperor. A sword Holy Spirit, which seemed like it could cut anything, appeared. There were rumbles of energies fighting. The thunder cultivator looked ferocious, but his physical body exploded nonetheless. His soul turned to smoke and was sucked into the cauldron, where the cauldron began refining it instantly. Insolent! Shouted the other great emperor. Lin Feng merely smiled coldly. His clone fused together with his body. At the same time, he waved his hand, and the cauldron moved back to him. Another sword moved towards that great emperor, but he blocked it. You dare assault and murder people from the Devamara Thunder clan? Said that strong cultivator extremely loudly. His chi rolled towards Lin Feng. Demons appeared around Lin Feng. I'm a potential candidate for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Back then, there were no tensions between the Devamara Thunder clan and me, and the Devamara Thunder clan promised me to bring me to one of the 4 groups. But then they sold me out. Now you have kept my clone for such a long time. How insolent is that? Such a behavior should naturally be punished, retorted Lin Feng coldly. Bastard! The strong cultivator of the Devamara Thunder clan punched out in Lin Feng's direction. Lin Feng didn't dodge, as the fist impacted his chest. His golden robe fluttered and Lin Feng was forced away and coughed up blood. However, Lin Feng just smiled coldly. The strong cultivator of the Devamara Thunder clan didn't understand, and his face stiffened. He suddenly looked scared. How insane. He didn't block the attack at all, he endured it all. What if he had died? What would have happened? Lin Feng coughed a few times. He stared at the cultivator again. His eyes were pitch black and he said coldly, I've recorded what happened here with my godly awareness, and I'll spread it in the eastern town of Godly Cloud City. At the same time, I will also tell Golden Mountain that the Devamara Thunder clan bullies me. I'll also tell them that from now on, I'll kill people from the Devamara Thunder clan when I meet them. Lin Feng turned around and strode away. The strong cultivator of the Devamara Thunder clan was astonished. Bastard! Shouted that strong cultivator, staring at the departing Lin Feng. His eyes were filled with murder. Lin Feng had provoked him on purpose, and now he was injured. In the future, he'd be able to act insolently when meeting cultivators of the Devamara Thunder clan. He would be able to justify himself and say he did those things with good reason. Lin Feng did as he said, and quickly, the news about the Devamara Thunder clan's behavior spread in the eastern town of Godly Cloud City. The Devamara Thunder clan is a level 2 group in the eastern town of Godly Cloud City, and surprisingly, they dared act like that. Back then, Lei Dongtian promised Lin Feng he'd protect him, and in the end he betrayed him. They sold him out to the Pellet King's clan, and then they imprisoned Lin Feng's clone, so Lin Feng was right to go and pick up his clone with his real body. But as before, they tried to stop him. The Devamara Thunder clan and the Pellet King's clan really have no values. The Pellet King's clan was furious because of Wang Jia. They wanted to avenge him. Even though it's not something they can be proud of, it's understandable. But the Devamara Thunder clan really sucks. Many people in Godly Cloud City were making fun of the Devamara Thunder clan because of their behavior. After the news spread, some cultivators of the Devamara Thunder clan bumped into Lin Feng. Lin Feng killed them, and everybody in town thought it was justified. Lin Feng went on a killing spree and really enjoyed it. A few days passed, and the news that Wang Jia hadn't died spread out. He had shown up in the eastern town of Godly Cloud City. He had killed 2 young men from the Devamara Thunder clan. But the most astonishing thing was that he now knew how to use Kulpa strength, and the skill he seemed to be using was the Kulpa indestructible Devamara skill. When hearing that, many people didn't believe a word of it, but then they saw him use it with their own eyes. Some people even recorded the scene with their godly awareness to show it to other people. The Devamara Thunder clan was furious. The Pellet King's clan was more discreet, yet had doubts. In a palace of the Devamara Thunder clan, many people with long faces were gathered here. The leader of the group was the one who had negotiated with the Pellet King's clan back then. He looked at the crowd and asked, "What do you think? Many of our people have been killed these days. We can't exclude the option that they may have transmitted the Culpa skill, especially since he doesn't have the full skill. However, Wang Jie has it now." That person didn't finish their sentence. Last time, the Pellet King's clan paid a very high price to capture Lin Feng and save Wang Jie, but they failed. They asked us to give what we had obtained back, but we refused. "Everybody probably remembers that," said someone else. "Everybody knows that Lin Feng came to the Devamara Thunder clan a few days ago. The Pellet King's clan won't get their revenge. However, Wang Jie hasn't died. So is Wang Jie back in the Pellet King's clan? Who knows? But why has he recovered so quickly?" asked someone. "Don't forget that it's the Pellet King's clan. They have incredible remedies. They would spend all they have to cure him. It's Wang Jie after all." "Maybe, but it's only been a few days. Even if the Pellet King's clan exchanged Wang Jie against something with Lin Feng, and then killed our people and stole our skill, how could Wang Jie study it so quickly? Wang Jie is extremely talented, everybody knows that. He's at the top of the Huang Qi layer, and can easily learn such skills. Besides, the Devamara Culpa skills aren't really useful for him. He already has a terrifying physical strength." The members of the Devamara Thunder clan kept talking about these things. Their conclusion to explain everything was that the Pellet King's clan had forced their people to hand over their skills and techniques, and they had taught them to Wang Jie. The Devamara Thunder clan was infuriated. In Holy Cultivation Tower, 2 more people looked furious. "Very good. The members of the Pellet King's clan surprisingly dare kill people from my clan and steal our skills and techniques. Very good. Wang Shi, I'll remember this," said Lei Dongtian coldly. "Ridiculous. Back then, you didn't do what you had promised. You joined hands with Lin Feng to bully my clan. Now you're accusing us? How insolent," said Wang Shi aggressively. The 2 of them were wearing the robes of Holy Cultivation Tower, and their qi was rising. They couldn't fight before the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds to assuage their anger. "You'll see, everybody will learn the truth. The Pellet King's clan stole our skills and techniques. We won't leave the matter at that," said Lei Dongtian coldly. "We'll see then," replied Wang Shi coldly. The 2 left in opposite directions. Chapter 2159. Put aside all considerations of face, Lei Dongtian and Wang Shi went back to their own respective clans. Lei Dongtian knew what was going on. The Pellet King's clan had joined hands with Lin Feng and forced the disciples of the clan to reveal their skills and techniques. Wang Shi learned that his brother Wang Jie hadn't gone back to the Pellet King's clan, but he knew that he had appeared. However, he had studied the Culpa Indestructible Devamara skill. The Pellet King's clan didn't understand what was going on. Had Lin Feng released Wang Jie? But even if Lin Feng had released Wang Jie, why had Wang Jie studied the Culpa Indestructible Devamara skill? The Pellet King's clan understood that no matter what, the Devamara Thunder clan couldn't believe them. Therefore, they didn't need to try and make efforts. Could such a powerful clan as the Pellet King's clan even beg the Devamara Thunder clan to believe them? Probably not. Strong cultivators of the Devamara Thunder clan went to the Pellet King's clan and asked them for an explanation, but the Pellet King's clan didn't give them any face. Lin Feng didn't show up. How could he show up in such circumstances? The Devamara Thunder clan was furious at the Pellet King's clan. If Lin Feng showed up, it would be an opportunity for the Pellet King's clan to accuse him. Many people from Godly Cloud City came to see the fun, looking amused. Many strong cultivators were watching from up in the sky. The skills and techniques of the Devamara Thunder clan had been revealed. That was exciting. Some people hoped they might be able to obtain them. They hoped they would see a great war too. Make Wang Jie come out. "You stole our skills and techniques, at least tell us why," said a Saint Emperor of the Devamara Thunder clan. Devamara Culpa's strength rose in towering waves. He looked like a god of darkness. The strong cultivators of the Devamara Culpa Thunder clan were all surrounded by terrifying black lights. "I'll say only one thing. Even though Lin Feng released Wang Jie, we haven't seen him, not even once." A member of the Pellet King's clan shot back coldly. "You're still lying, how shameless," said the Saint Emperor of the Devamara Thunder clan furiously. "We're not as shameless as you. You promised you'd deliver Lin Feng. Then you promised us you'd help us. And then you continued your little games, and didn't do what you had promised," retorted the cultivator of the Pellet King's clan coldly. The crowd in the distance heard that. As expected, both clans were evildoers. The strong cultivators of the Devamara Thunder clan looked furious. The Pellet King's clan's members dared talk about those things in front of everybody. How shameless. "It seems that the Pellet King's clan isn't willing to give an explanation," stated the Saint Emperor of the Devamara Thunder clan coldly. "We have nothing to explain," said the strong cultivator of the Pellet King's clan unhappily and aggressively. "Grandpa!" At that moment, the members of the Pellet King's clan were surprised. They suddenly turned around and gazed into the distance. They looked stupefied. Wang Jia! Wang Jia! The members of the Devamara Thunder clan were stupefied too. A strong cultivator jumped forwards and Devamara Kulpa's strength surged forwards. A strong cultivator landed in front of Wang Jia, as flames turned into millions of embers, and destroyed the Devamara Kulpa's strength. At the same time, another cultivator grabbed Wang Jia, and took him back to the group of cultivators from the Pellet King's clan. "Pellet King's clan, what do you have to say now?" The strong cultivators of the Devamara Thunder clan were furious. Their chi rose to the skies. It was a terrifying sight. The members of the Pellet King's clan had anticipated such a reaction, and said nothing. They looked at Wang Jia and asked, "Wang Jia, what's going on?" "Lin Feng didn't kill me. He imprisoned me for some time. He was afraid that the Pellet King's clan would seek revenge, because I'm a valuable asset. Then he went to Golden Mountain. I think he feels safer now that he released me. He hopes you will forget about what happened and forgive him. He doesn't want to be enemies with the Pellet King's clan," whispered Wang Jia. It all made sense. Wang Jia was alive, and he didn't look strange at all. "Why didn't you come back to the clan directly?" asked Wang Shi. "I met some people from the Devamara Thunder clan. I know they didn't want to give back what you gave them, so I couldn't let them off. I killed some of them and stole their skills and techniques, but I didn't manage to obtain the full version. If I could get it, it'd be perfect. My physical strength would increase a lot. Besides, with everything I know, I can easily learn the Kulpa Indestructible Devamara skill," said Wang Jia smiled. He looked a bit evil and cruel. The crowd shivered. No wonder that guy was known as the little insane cultivator of the Pellet King's clan. He dared say such things. He was really crazy. Even though tensions between the Devamara Thunder clan would worsen, it didn't matter, as the most important thing was now to get their skills and techniques. "Hand Wang Jia over," said a strong cultivator of the Devamara Thunder clan coldly. They had to kill Wang Jia, otherwise, their skills and techniques would spread. However, the Pellet King's clan had struggled to get him back. How could they abandon him and let the Devamara Thunder clan kill him? Besides, the Devamara Thunder clan's skills and techniques, when they thought about that, their hearts were suddenly filled with ardor. In ordinary times, they didn't dare do such things. But now that Wang Jia had started, and what if they could obtain the full Kulpa Indestructible Devamara skill? No matter what, they couldn't let Wang Jia go. "Bring little Jia back and protect him," said a strong cultivator of the Pellet King's clan coldly. However, at that moment, the strong cultivators of the Devamara Thunder clan all dashed forwards and surrounded them. In reply, the strong cultivators of the Pellet King's clan released their own chi, which filled the air. The strong cultivators of the Devamara Thunder clan said coldly, "Do you really want this, Pellet King's clan? You make no distinction between good and evil. You keep bullying us." "That's enough now," said a voice in the distance. The members of the Devamara Thunder clan pulled a long face. A really strong cultivator of the Pellet King's clan expressed their view. They weren't going to hand Wang Jia over. People remained silent. Finally, a strong cultivator of the Devamara Thunder clan waved and they left. They didn't fight. However, everybody understood that it wasn't over. It was even more scary than a battle. The two clans didn't care about face anymore. As the crowd expected, the members of the Devamara Thunder clan and the Pellet King's clan burst out into open hostilities. Each time their members bumped into each other in Godly Cloud City, They had cruel battles. The Devamara Thunder Clan's members didn't kill the members of the Pellet King's clan. They captured them, and then tried to force the members of the Pellet King's clan to give the skills and techniques back in exchange for their fire. But the Pellet King's clan and the Devamara Thunder clan were different, because the Pellet King's clan was a clan of alchemists. They made pills with fire, and could also study the Culpa Indestructible Devamara skill now. However, when the Devamara Thunder clan obtained some of the Pellet King's clan's skills and techniques, they couldn't study them at all, so they were useless. Especially the skills and techniques which belonged to extremely strong alchemists. The core disciples of the Pellet King's clan didn't even have access to some of the most powerful skills and techniques of the Pellet King's clan. Just like some core disciples of the Devamara Thunder clan didn't even have access to the full version of the Culpa Indestructible Devamara skill. The battles were ferocious, cruel, and bloodthirsty. One day, the Devamara Thunder clan lost a great emperor. The next day, the Pellet King's clan lost a few emperors. Celestial emperors even started fighting. The Devamara Thunder clan and the Pellet King's clan were already fighting so much, how could they stop? Both clans had become fearless. One day, two great emperors fought in the eastern town of Godly Cloud City. Their battle was devastating. In the end, they were both injured. At that moment, a young man appeared. He had a gigantic cauldron. Lights emerged from the cauldron and qi filled the air. Go! Lin Feng stretched out his hand. The gigantic cauldron shone out, and the great emperor of the Devamara Thunder clan was surrounded by lights. He was still fighting against the great emperor of the Pellet King's clan when he sensed that his soul was shaking. It turned into lights and was sucked in by the 10,000 evolutions cauldron, which then refined it. The great emperor shrieked horribly as he died. Lin Feng smoothly took his cauldron back. When the great emperor of the Pellet King's clan looked at him, he looked scared. "Who are you?" asked the strong cultivator of the Pellet King's clan coldly. "I'm friends with the Pellet King's clan," said Lin Feng smiled. At that moment, in the distance, whistling sounds heralded the arrival of more people. One of them was Lei Dongtian. People from the Devamara Thunder clan had arrived, and they recognized Lin Feng. "Lin Feng," said Lei Dongtian coldly. The strong cultivator of the Pellet King's clan frowned. "That was Lin Feng?" "Brother Lei, long time no see," Lin Feng smiled. The strong cultivator of the Devamara Thunder clan looked furious when they saw Lin Feng's golden robe. "Brother Lin Feng, you've killed many of our people these days, right?" Lei Dongtian said, watching Lin Feng with murder in his eyes. "Everybody knows that the Devamara Thunder clan started it all in Godly Cloud City. I just struck back," answered Lin Feng calmly. "Besides, I never kill people who are not at least high-level emperors. How come the Devamara Thunder clan felt so confident and at ease and thought they could imprison me? Is that how you protect me, Brother Lei?" Chapter 2160. Fighting against Lei Dongtian. "Brother Lin, you killed many of our people. Do you think Golden Mountain can still protect you only because you're wearing their robe? Do you think the Devamara Thunder clan won't dare kill you?" swore Lei Dongtian coldly, looking at Lin Feng like a dead man. "I really do think so. Am I wrong? Would the Devamara Thunder clan really dare kill me?" said Lin Feng with a smile yet not a smile, looking back at Lei Dongtian. He then said calmly, "However, if you want to exchange views on cultivation with me, Brother Lei, we can. We are both potential candidates for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Nothing prevents us from exchanging views on cultivation. We can ask for the 4 influential groups to supervise the battle, and we can agree on a battle to the death." When Lei Dongtian heard Lin Feng's mocking tone, he was even more infuriated. He waved, and the strong cultivators of the Devamara Thunder clan moved towards the strong cultivators of the Pellet King's clan. Suddenly, the sky was filled with terrifying Devamara Culpa strength. "Interesting. I'd love to see, Brother Lin. What makes you so confident?" Lei Dongtian said calmly. He stretched out his hand and Culpa lights appeared and surrounded his own body. The Culpa lights contained a terrifying destructive strength. Lei Dongtian was the strongest young man of the Devamara Thunder clan. He was probably extraordinary. He was also curious to see how strong some of the new geniuses in Godly Cloud City were. Terrifying demon cosmic energies surrounded Lin Feng's body. However, he didn't use Culpa lights to do that. He used pure demon strength. He suddenly looked like an ancient demon. He stood there with his hands clasped behind his back. The two cultivators' demon energies collided in the air. It looked incredible. Lei Dongtian's eyes gradually became pitch black. They looked more and more terrifying. His eyes were filled with Culpa strength. Sharp lights emerged from his eyes and shot towards Lin Feng, turning into Culpa light beams. He wanted to kill Lin Feng. Lin Feng's eyebrows looked like swords. Sword intent condensed in his eyes. Wisdom King Holy Spirits condensed and turned into indestructible Wisdom Kings. The energies emerging from the two fighters' eyes collided loudly. Their energies could easily kill ordinary emperors. Lei Dongtian took a step forwards and a demon appeared. His blood started boiling, and the air went dark. Everything seemed like it was going to be destroyed under their energies. Demon Culpa swords appeared above Lin Feng's head, much more powerful than Lin Feng's Culpa swords. It was a special kind of strength the members of the Devamara Thunder clan had, since they had the full version of the Culpa indestructible Devamara skill. They had all sorts of demon skills, and were experts in using demon energies. A gigantic sword demon sword appeared. It seemed to be alive. Die! Shouted Lei Dongtian coldly. Demon Culpa swords charged towards Lin Feng, looking like pitch-black thunders. Lin Feng was surrounded sword intent. All sorts of Holy Spirit swords condensed around him. He also punched out with physical strength. His terrifying energies astonished the crowd. This guy's punch is filled with demon sword energies, how crazy! The crowd was shaking. The space began to break. The demon lights pierced through the demon sword. The oppressive Devamara strength was destroyed, and the sky became normal again. Lei Dongtian moved again, trying not to look worried. He didn't want to show how he felt. Lin Feng was strong. That was a fact. Lei Dongtian's gigantic Devamara wings appeared. They contained terrifying demonic marks, and his hands turned into demon Culpa claws. He looked dangerous. The crowd was taken aback. His chi became far more powerful. A fearsome demon appeared in the crowd's field of vision. Demons charged towards Lin Feng. If Lin Feng had been an ordinary cultivator, he would have died already. Lei Dongtian flapped his Devamara wings, and suddenly disappeared. A demon Culpa hand charged towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng felt a pressure, as if the claws were about to rip into him. However, Lin Feng looked calm and composed, as if nothing could affect him. He punched out in his enemy's direction, the air shaking at the blow. Demon deployment lights surged out. However, Lei Dongtian disappeared and more claws shot towards Lin Feng from above. Terrifying energies made the earth and sky shake. People's hearts started pounding. The two fighters had already collided a few times. Behind Lin Feng, deployment lights started intertwining. Very quickly, they turned into dazzling deployment wings. That Lin Feng is really strong. No wonder he defeated Wang Jie back then, murmured some spectators when they saw that, their hearts starting to beat faster. Lei Dongtian was a member of the Devamara Thunder clan. His physical strength was incredible, as were his spells. However, Lin Feng looked unmoved. His physical strength was also incredible. Lin Feng definitely had the potential to participate in the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds. He might even end up in the top 100. After all, Lei Dongtian was the first young man of the Devamara Thunder clan. Not many people could compete with him. In Godly Cloud City, only 50 or so people could compete with him, but he was probably as strong as them, not weaker. He also had the potential to end up in the top 100. Since Lei Dongtian had that potential, then Lin Feng did too. Lei Dongtian attacked again, but this time it was Lin Feng who disappeared. Lin Feng reappeared in the sky and descended while saying to Lei Dongtian, "You're not the only one who's fast. Very good. Let's show you the Devamara Thunder clan's spells." Lei Dongtian jumped forwards. Demon intent surged up. Lei Dongtian's intent was getting more and more powerful. Lin Feng glanced at the demon Culpa lights. He released demon strength which turned into sharp swords. They seemed to be able to conquer every obstacle. Lei Dongtian closed his eyes. He looked like a darkly enlightened being. Demons appeared around him. "Culpa," said a voice coldly. At that moment, Extremely powerful Culpa lights surrounded Lin Feng. Lin Feng's muscles shook violently. His blood started boiling. And it was only the beginning. Lin Feng disappeared and shot towards Lei Dongtian. However, Lei Dongtian disappeared, and demons made of Culpa strength appeared everywhere. Lei Dongtian reappeared in the sky, opening his mouth and sucking in energy. He absorbed all the Culpa strength and turned into a Culpa demon. The crowd was shaking. A Culpa demon? Lin Feng looked up at him and smiled. If he used the Culpa indestructible Devamara skill, perhaps it could help him become a saint in terms of physical strength. Lin Feng didn't have time to play around. Lei Dongtian had the potential to become a participant of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Could he kill him in front of everybody? Lin Feng suddenly disappeared. The crowd was stupefied. Lin Feng stopped fighting. Lei Dongtian put him under pressure, it seemed. The crowd looked at Lei Dongtian, the first young man of the Devamara Thunder clan. He had absorbed Culpa strength and could easily kill ordinary great emperors. As expected, he was a terrifying presence. A strong cultivator of the Devamara Thunder clan attacked, but Lin Feng turned into a hurricane, and his cauldron's death strength filled the air. It destroyed the man's physical body and absorbed his soul. Then Lin Feng smiled. "Brother Lei, I'm sure we'll meet again." He turned into a beam of light and departed quickly. Lei Dongtian flashed down, could only look after him with murder in his eyes. When the crowd saw Lin Feng retreat, they were astonished. During the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, would Lin Feng lose against him? Chapter 2161, Alliance in Golden Mountain. In the residential area for people who were from abroad, many people came to greet those who had the potential to be selected for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Many of those potential candidates didn't understand and thought that it had something to do with the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. After all, they knew that Golden Mountain was one of the 4 influential groups. Since they were there, Golden Mountain had been chosen by the shrine. Among the people who had the potential to become candidates of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, many of them were already from Golden Mountain. The 4 influential groups had outstanding disciples. Their people were also going to sit the exam like the foreigners. Of course, what the shrine had done was advantageous for them. It was easier for them to be selected for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. The foreigners weren't just pressured by the other foreigners, only but also by Golden Mountain's disciples. Prince Wuxia and Jiuling Huang had the most magnificent palaces in Golden Mountain. Nobody had gone to see them. They had just heard that about the phenomenon. A few people from Golden Mountain were standing in front of a palace. They glanced around, and one of the young men asked, "Who have we forgotten?" An old man next to him replied, "One of them is Lin Feng. He's not bad, and he's also in Golden Mountain. You can go and see him. Make him join our group." "Is he in Golden Mountain now?" asked the young man. "I've been watching him. Apparently he's back," said the old man calmly. The young man's eyes twinkled and he smiled. "Good call, Bing. We'll go and invite him together." "All right," said the old man, nodding. Then his silhouette flickered. After a short time, a beautiful woman arrived. "Brother Zhen, Bing, let's go invite someone," said the young man, nodding at the girl. The 3 people's silhouettes flickered. The old man took them to Lin Feng's palace. When Lin Feng saw them arrive, he was surprised. These people were wearing different clothes. They were probably authentic members of Golden Mountain. "Lin Feng, I'm Jin Zhen and this is my fellow disciple Bing," said Jin Zhen, smiling at Lin Feng. "What do you want?" replied Lin Feng, smiling affably back. "In a few days, it will be the exam for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Brother Lin Feng, we're here to invite you to come join our group," said Jin Zhen. Lin Feng looked surprised and said, "I don't understand." "Lin Feng, you don't understand what the exam of Golden Mountain is like, so it's normal that you don't understand. The second round of the selections consists of group fights. We want to form alliances of 10 people to eliminate the other alliances. That way, we can eliminate many people. 10 people fight against other groups? Who's considered a winner then?" asked Lin Feng. He was curious now. Golden Mountain has different rules for the selection procedure. First, amongst the groups of 10 people, 5 people are eliminated, Bing told him. Half will be eliminated within a group? Lin Feng was startled. Jin Jin nodded. Indeed. But don't worry, among the people I chose you're a hero. If you come to my palace, you'll definitely move on to the next round. Then we'll eliminate people from other groups. Groups of 5 will fight? No. 3 people will be chosen to fight one-on-ones. If they win, then the 5 enemies will eliminated, said Jin Jin. The rules are cruel, said Lin Feng, eyeing Jin Jin. If my partners aren't strong enough, I'll lose too. Indeed. Therefore, I came to invite you. Besides you, among the people I invited, there's also the first master of Jade Clouds, Yu Qing, and a very strong cultivator who has a king-type body. Coupled with me, Bing and you we are 5, Wang Jin smiled. Besides, brother Lin Feng, Bing and I aren't weak. The first master of Jade Clouds is also in Golden Mountain. Lin Feng's eyes twinkled. Golden Mountain was lucky. 3 of the first masters of the continent of the 9 clouds were here. Brother Lin Feng, don't worry. Everybody knows you in town. We mean you no harm. If you doubt our honesty, we can give you some great imperial weapons. Bing spoke up, smiling and playing with her hair. She was definitely beautiful. Indeed. Brother Lin Feng, we believe in your strength. Believe in our honesty, said Jin Jin gently. Lin Feng, Jin Jin and Bing are outstanding young people in Golden Mountain. They are the descendants of great weapon masters, spoke up the old man proudly. These people really looked honest. There was no pressure or intimidation. I don't need great imperial weapons, Lin Feng told them. Since you seem honest, I won't refuse. Awesome, brother Lin. Thank you very much, said Jin Jin, shaking hands with Lin Feng before smiling and taking a necklace out. This is the necklace of our alliance. It means you can come to our deployment palace whenever you want. On the day of the exam, we'll gather together. To avoid trouble, just put a thread of godly awareness inside. All right, agreed Lin Feng. He understood. Since he had accepted an alliance with them, he had to do that, otherwise, if he went back on his word, it wouldn't be fair. Many people knew that such a thing was possible, so they tried to protect themselves. Lin Feng released a thread of godly awareness to swear he was going to respect the alliance. He didn't mind. As long as he didn't lose because of other people, everything was fine, especially since he was really strong, and the exam would probably be easy for him. Awesome, brother Lin, thank you, see you soon, said Jin Jin, shaking Lin Feng's hand again. Bing smiled thinly and bowed before Lin Feng. All right. Lin Feng nodded at the 3 people who left. They still needed to invite some more people. After they left Lin Feng's palace, Jin Jin and Bing smiled. Jin Jin said, Lin Feng is strong. With Yu Qing and the one who has a king-type body, we can be a terrifying group. The 5 others will just be cannon fodder. I'll be careful, said the old man nodding. If the 5 other people knew they were cannon fodder, how would they feel? However, that was the sad truth. The group round was complex in comparison with the previous one. 5 strong cultivators were going to be eliminated in each group. Bing, when the right time comes, it'll be sad for you, Jin said to Bing. All right, I don't mind. The most important ones are you and Yu Qing, Bing smiled. Jin Jin nodded. After that, Lin Feng calmly waited for the beginning of the exam. A few of his fellow disciples had already arrived in Godly Cloud City. Some people had been blocked at the entrance of the city, including Jing Xiaoyu. Mu Chen stayed with Jing Xiaoyu. The saint was still with them. Lin Feng hoped the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds would help him become stronger. On the day of the exam, Lin Feng's robe suddenly fluttered in the wind, and a sound resonated in his brain. The voice asked him to come to the meeting point at noon. Lin Feng knew that the exam was going to start. At noon, the crowd had gathered by the stage. The strong cultivators of Golden Mountain were waiting already. There were many people. Everybody gather with your groups, said someone. Instantly, everybody gathered with their chosen teams. Lin Feng went over to Jin Jin and Bing, and very quickly, they were 9 people. 2 of them looked extraordinary. One of them looked noble, strange, and indifferent. That was Yu Qing from Jade Clouds. The second one was wearing a golden robe, but his chi was abnormal. Some king intent filled the air around him. He was surprised to see Lin Feng. So much time had passed, and he had thought that people like them who had king-type bodies would progress faster. The man was Duga the Winner, who had a godly imprint king body. Duga the Winner looked at Lin Feng calmly. In the Dark Night region, Lin Feng and Duga the Winner were of the same generation. But Lin Feng had become famous earlier than him. Before heading to Godly Clouds, Lin Feng was already famous in the Dark Night region. They said nothing to one another. They knew one another. That's all, they weren't friends. Chapter 2162. Fabricating Golden Mountains. Exam. The strong cultivators of Golden Mountain were standing in front of everyone. One of them said calmly, "Everybody, follow me to the Temple of Heaven." After that, everybody rose up into the air and started flying. After a short time, they saw an empty space stage. They could see many buildings and halls around. Of course, the people from inside the halls could also see them. Groups of 10 surrounded the Temple of Heaven. Many square-shaped pillars appeared, which could accommodate many people. "There are the pillars for each different group," said a strong cultivator, who was standing in the center of the Temple of Heaven calmly. The groups of 10 jumped onto their pillars. "Now, after the end of the allocated time, there must be 5 of you on the pillars," said the Golden Mountain cultivator. People on the pillars looked nervous. From 10 people, there were going to be only 5 left. Half of them were going to be eliminated. Many people felt great pressure. They knew it was going to be that way before coming. But still, on Lin Feng's pillar, Jin Jun looked over the group. Some people looked nervous. One of them said, "People who know they can't win should get down." However, Jin Jun smiled coldly, looked at 5 people and said, "Thank you very much for joining our group, but 5 people have to be eliminated. Since you came to Golden Mountain, you can stay here, and you'll have the opportunity to watch." "Why is 5? Asked those 5 people. They all pulled long faces. One of them said, "When you invited us, you didn't say that." "That wasn't what I meant. Yu Qing can't be eliminated. Duga can't be eliminated either. He's got the godly imprint king body. And everybody knows Lin Feng too. Therefore, only you can leave. That's the best for the group," said Jin Jun calmly. However, the 5 people looked angry. Yu Qing suddenly opened his eyes. He seemed to have found a solution, as just after that, someone shrieked and their eyes started bleeding. "Don't waste time," Yu Qing said coldly. The 5 people were depressed. It was the sad truth. A few days before, the old man had invited them and had looked honest. However, now in the blink of an eye, they were eliminated. How cruel. Some of them were devastated. They hadn't anticipated this ruthlessness at all. They weren't the only ones. Many people on the other pillars had to go through the same thing. Lin Feng looked at Yu Qing, the first master of Jade Clouds. He looked extremely strong. His eyes were terrifying. He could destroy people's 7 apertures with his skill. Quickly, the 5 rejects jumped off the pillar. Lin Feng thought that if he wasn't famous, he would have been kicked out like the others. After a short time, only 5 people were left on all the pillars. They were all geniuses. In such a short time, half of all the people had been eliminated. Out of nearly 400 people, only around 200 were left. "Now, time for the second round," said the Golden Mountain cultivator. He glanced at the crowd and continued. "The groups of 5 will now fight against other groups of 5. 5 battles. If one side loses, then the whole group is eliminated. If someone doesn't accept, they can challenge 3 people from whole group, and if they win, then they can move on." To avoid losing real heroes because of the groups, they created that rule, thought the crowd when they heard that. Lin Feng's group was extremely powerful. Yu Qing, first master of Jade Clouds, could already win 1 battle. Lin Feng could also win 1 battle. "The first ones can challenge first," said the Golden Mountain cultivator. In a split second, someone jumped onto the battle stage. The crowd was startled. It was Prince Wu Qing. He was the first one to jump on the battle stage. People already felt sad for whoever was going to be chosen by Prince Wu Qing. "You," said Prince Wu Qing, pointing at a group on a pillar. Those people pulled long faces. They didn't want to get eliminated. Someone did jump onto the battle stage, but how could that person compete with Prince Wu Qing? His 3,000 threads of emotionlessness strength made him emotionless and allowed him to use the 3,000 deadly technique. In the twinkling of an eye, he flattened his opponent in one. After that, the opponents won one battle and lost the last one, which meant they were eliminated 2-1 for Prince Wuqing's group. The group had one strong cultivator, but he couldn't compete with all the others. Wuqing, get a win for us first, that way, we'll have the initiative in the next 2 rounds as well, said Jin Zhen to Wuqing. Wuqing nodded, his silhouette flickered, and he landed on the battle stage. He opened his eyes and looked at some people. They all pulled long faces. You, said Wuqing calmly. One person from that group jumped onto the battle stage. It was the weakest person of their group, because they had no hope to win against Wuqing. They hoped they'd win the next 2 battles. The 2 fighters stood on the battle stage. Wuqing took a step. It looked like his eyes were coming out of his orbits. They were terrifying. Deadly strength rose in the twinkling of an eye. At the same time, his lips moved and strength emerged from his mouth and pulsed out. His opponent suddenly gave out a horrible shriek, and his 7 apertures started bleeding abundantly. Wuqing moved his hands and sent the enemy hurtling back to his pillar. It was a crushing defeat. Second battle. Duga the winner you go, said Jin Zhen to Duga the winner. All right. Duga the winner nodded and jumped onto the battle stage. His opponent also landed in front of him. His chi was terrifying. Bzzz, 3,000 godly imprint lights started floating above the battle stage. It was an incredible display of King Qi. Duga the winner is really strong. Lang Yi and Junemo, she must be really strong too. During those 2 years I progressed too slowly. I only improved my physical strength, thought Lin Feng. Years had passed since the Pathfinder Day of the Imperial ranking list in the Holy City. Back then, Lang Yi was at the same cultivation level as Lin Feng, medium-level emperor. But now so much time had passed. Lin Feng had already reached the top of the Huangqi layer. The others were probably at the same level. After all, even though they weren't as strong as him when it came to fighting back then, they didn't understand Dao strength back then, either. People who had king-type bodies became exponentially stronger as they broke through. Their fighting abilities also became more terrifying with time. Duga the winner's 3,000 godly imprint lights started rising to the skies and fusing together with his Dao strength before crashing onto his opponent. In the end he won. 2 wins, 1 loss. The 3 other members of the enemy's group turned pale as they were eliminated. With Wuqing and Duga the winner in the enemy's group, how could they win? The following battles were spectacular. Groups kept getting eliminated. Finally, someone who was in a group of losers challenged 3 cultivators from a rival group and defeated them. Some people recognized him. It was a terrifying cultivator from Supreme Clouds, which explained it all. A few hours later, only 80-some people were left on pillars. The others had been eliminated and wouldn't be able to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. During this 3rd round, even more people will be eliminated. Each of the 5 members of the groups must fight. They must win 3 times. People who are in groups of winners, but lose their battle also are eliminated. Those who win their battle and are in groups of winners can fight against 3 people from any group of winners. If they win the 3 battles, they are qualified, the Golden Mountain cultivator explained slowly. The weakest ones were all getting eliminated quickly. Only the most heroic of all heroes would remain in the end. This time I'll choose the opponents randomly, said that person calmly. He pointed at 2 groups of 5 people. Their respective members fought against one another. Their battles were incredible. That time, even if a group won, 2 of their members could get eliminated. Cultivators were now ready to use their full strength to win and avoid being eliminated. After several battles, only the strongest alliances were left. Lin Feng was grim. Each time, at least 5 people were eliminated when 2 groups fought. A group couldn't win all the battles, or at least it hadn't happened. Therefore, each time at least 6 people were eliminated. Ru Yin was eliminated. Lin Feng was astonished. Jiuling Huang and the others were in the same group. Yao Yao, Ziling, and Ru Yin had been eliminated already. Only Jiuling Huang, Ru Feng, and a member of Golden Mountain hadn't been eliminated in their group. Your two groups. Fight, said the Golden Mountain cultivator at that moment. He was pointing at Lin Feng and his group on one side, and Prince Wu Qing's group on the other side. They both had first masters. The crowd looked terribly excited. One group had to be eliminated, but Prince Wu Qing and Yu Qing were probably not going to fight. Even if one group was eliminated, they would then choose to challenge 3 people to be qualified. Otherwise, if a master was eliminated before the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, then Prince Wu Qing jumped onto the battle stage. Jin Jun looked at Lin Feng and said, Lin Feng, you fight this one. Duga the winner had already shown how strong he was. Jin Jun and Yu Qing could defeat the other members of Prince Wu Qing's group. Bing was also strong. They could all win. So now they were thinking that getting rid of Lin Feng was the best thing they could do. Chapter 2163, Cruel Prince Wu Qing. When Lin Feng heard Jin Jun, he was surprised. The meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds hadn't even started, and they were making him fight against Prince Wu Qing? The rule was that only winners who were in groups of losers could challenge 3 people. If they lost, they were directly eliminated. Therefore, if Lin Feng fought against Prince Wu Qing, one of them would be definitely eliminated and wouldn't be able to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Prince Wu Qing's face looked strange. Lin Feng and Prince Wu Qing came from the Dark Night region, and Prince Wu Qing was very self-confident. But he found it strange that he would fight against Lin Feng, especially since he hoped Lin Feng would participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Lin Feng and Prince Wu Qing had the same thought. Lin Feng also knew that Prince Wu Qing had the 3,000 threads of emotionlessness strength, and knew the 3,000 deadly technique had to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Otherwise it'd be a pity. Therefore Lin Feng looked at Jin Jun. He had invited him in. The 3 people had said beautiful words. Of course, Jin Jun needed him at the beginning, because he didn't want anything unexpected to happen. He wanted to reach this part of the process. Thanks to Yu Qing, the one who had a king-type body, and Lin Feng, he had made it here. But now things were different. Lin Feng was in their alliance. They had to get rid of someone. And without the least hesitation, he decided to get rid of Lin Feng. Jin Jun and Yu Qing had to be sure they'd be able to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. You go for the first battle, replied Lin Feng calmly. When Jin Jun heard Lin Feng, he frowned and looked at him coldly. Yu Qing and he were supposed to be qualified for the meeting. If they had to, they'd even get rid of Duga the winner. However, Lin Feng was looking at Jin Jun and telling him to fight against Prince Wu Qing himself. People around looked amused. There was a problem in that group. They had won all their battles. It was normal to feel pressure. But now the rules were different. If someone lost in a group, they were eliminated even if the group won. We give up this round. Lin Feng lost, Jin Jun said to the Golden Mountain cultivator evenly. The referee looked startled, and Lin Feng said, I agreed to make an alliance with you, but I never agreed to listen to your order. Master, there is no such rule, is there? Indeed, there is no such rule, said the Golden Mountain cultivator, nodding and looking at Lin Feng. Since there is no such rule, Jin Jun can't give me orders, said Lin Feng calmly. But someone must fight in the alliance. You can decide together. How to decide? Jin Jun and Bing are together. They want me to get eliminated, said Lin Feng calmly. What do you think then? Asked the Golden Mountain cultivator. Even if my group gives up, I refuse to admit I lost this battle. If anyone says I did, then they don't need to fight against Prince Wu Qing. They can fight against me directly. If I lose, then I'll be the loser. If I win, then they'll be the loser, said Lin Feng indifferently. Otherwise, I also agreed to leave the group and fight alone. That's a joke. You can't leave an alliance. Who do you think we are? Said Jin Jun, taking a step towards Lin Feng and pointing his finger at him. The atmosphere became eerily silent. Lin Feng had the impression Jin Jun wanted to stab him with that finger. An alliance doesn't depend on your definition either, retorted Lin Feng, also taking a step forwards. The air began to churn with rising energies. Lin Feng pointed back at Yu Qing, Holy Spirit swords condensing on his finger and turning into a sword. The energies emerging from both fingers collided. Fissures appeared in the air between them. Yu Qing and the others stepped away frowning. An internal battle had started. Prince Wu Qing was probably really strong. However, Lin Feng didn't fight. Not because he didn't dare, but because he didn't think that it was the right time for him to fight against Prince Wu Qing. He wasn't the only one to think that way. Yu Qing thought the same as Lin Feng. It wasn't Yu Qing's time to fight against Prince Wu Qing either. They were both first masters in their respective regions. They'd fight, but not at that moment. Therefore, Yu Qing didn't step up and fight against Prince Wu Qing either. Lin Feng thought the same. Jin Zhen just wanted one of them to be eliminated, as if the members of his alliance were his pawns. Lin Feng didn't like that at all. He despised such little people. Now that they wanted to sacrifice him, he burst out into anger. "Insolent!" shouted Jin Zhen explosively. Terrifying lights illuminated the pillar. Lin Feng was directly in front of him. At such a distance, ordinary emperors would have died because of the energies. "Piss off!" shouted Lin Feng extremely loudly as well. Sounds resonated in Jin Zhen's brain, and death strength moved into his eyes and godly awareness. At the same time, Lin Feng punched out in his direction. It seemed like it could crush anything. The energies enveloped the two fighters explosively. Rumbling and explosion sounds spread in the air. The crowd saw Jin Zhen get pushed back. He tried to get back his balance, standing in the air. He looked at Lin Feng coldly. Lin Feng jumped towards him, his robe fluttering in the wind. He looked at him coldly and said, "Who the fuck do you think you are? You think you can use me, and then get rid of me as you wish? You think you can use us to get qualified for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds? Then I only conclude you're not strong enough to rely on strength to get qualified. You're ridiculous." Lin Feng was humiliating Jin Zhen. It made him furious. He pulled a long face, especially since he had just been forced back by Lin Feng. What Lin Feng was saying wasn't groundless. He wasn't as strong as Lin Feng, so he wanted to get rid of him? Did he think that he could use other people, and didn't need to rely on strength to get qualified for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds? Just because he was from Golden Mountain? "I'll fight this one." Bing broke in, jumping onto the battle stage. The crowd frowned again. The girl was helping Jin Zhen. Lin Feng had just overcome Jin Zhen, so Jin Zhen couldn't say that Lin Feng was the loser, otherwise, the crowd would make fun of him. In any case, Jin Zhen was not satisfied. Bing had decided to sacrifice herself for Jin Zhen. Jin Zhen was really strong, and Bing had faith in him. She didn't know why he had been pushed back by Lin Feng. But in her opinion, Jin Zhen had just been too careless. Actually, if anyone fought in close combat against Lin Feng, the same thing would have happened. Jin Zhen was extremely strong. Lin Feng was aware of it, but he also knew how strong he himself was. "You will still be out," said Jin Zhen, glancing at Lin Feng coldly. He landed back on the pillar and stopped looking at Lin Feng, watching the battle stage instead. His eyes were still filled with ice-cold lights though. Bing couldn't win against Prince Wu Qing, and rapidly lost. Nobody was surprised. She lost and managed to make people forget about Jin Zhen's humiliation. For the second battle, Jin Zhen jumped forwards. He still looked furious. His opponent was extremely strong, but Jin Zhen overwhelmed his opponent and won quickly. For the third battle, Yu Qing fought and won. For the fourth battle, Dugu the winner fought. His 3,600 godly imprints condensed, and he crushed his enemy. He won too. They had won 3 times. Their group had won. However, according to the rules, Lin Feng had to fight, so he fought and won. People were amazed by their group. If Prince Wu Qing hadn't been in their enemy's group, they could have won 5 battles. Yu Qing, Jin Zhen, Lin Feng and Dugu the winner had all won. They were all extremely strong. In the enemy's group, only Prince Wu Qing won. If people continue getting eliminated, who will get eliminated in that one? There are tensions between Lin Feng and Jin Zhen already, thought the crowd. Those who had won and were in winners' groups could stay on the pillars. Almost 400 strong cultivators, and now only 40 are left, thought those watching. Some people frowned, others sighed. People who were going to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds were all terrifyingly strong. However, the real battles would start during the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Besides, Golden Mountain still seemed to think that 40 people was too much, so it wasn't over yet. They still wanted to eliminate people, but the groups weren't equal anymore. Some groups had 3 people, some groups had 4 people, and some rare groups still had 5 people. Some rare groups also had only 1 person left, people who were in groups who had lost, and had then challenged 3 people consecutively and won. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.